Hey kids, you're listening to the internet's wettest podcast about video games, consoles, and pancakes. The SML Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is the SML Podcast. I am your host, Joe. We have a fun show lined up. We got a party cast later on in the show, but for now, Pernell is here. Mr. Pernell, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right today. How about yourself, good sir?
I'm doing good. It is a Saturday as we're recording this, and I'm excited for the weekend. It's just gonna be a chill weekend. I got to get the show posted for later tonight. I got to beat the shit out of Jacob because he didn't get the tweets up yet. And then we got an interview to do.
Nice.
Yeah. We should do that, shouldn't we?
I mean, if you would like to, I suppose we could get started.
I mean, we have guests waiting for us, so we might as well get to it. Michiel Kroder Alter Howdegen is the name I've been told to give for you, of HitP Studio. Welcome to the show. How are you two doing?
Thanks for having us. Doing very well, yeah.
Very well indeed.
For the
good
people
way to spend a Saturday evening.
For the people who don't know who you are or what you're here for, give us the sales pitch. What is HitP Studio? What is the game you just released? Give us all the info. Who are you?
I'll take it. All right. HitP Studio is an upstart game developer consisting of two guys, me and Alter Howdegen, aka Hans. And we put out our first game on Steam just about a month ago, and it's a shoot 'em up. I'm the lead game designer of it, and I love the genre. And we had this idea for a game, a shoot 'em up, in which the objective is not to dodge bullets, but it's actually advantageous to get hit and start slurping them up. So. In short, that is the sales pitch. That's why you want to play Schildmaid MX. Because, you actually, here's a game that rewards you for flying into bullets.
Yeah, we talked about this, Pernell, what was it, last week on the show we talked about this? And
actually, I would say, I guess at the time of the release of this episode, yes, it was last week.
Yeah, and we both really enjoyed the game. I thought it was a really, really cool, fun twist on the shmup genre, where instead of a bullet hell, where you're trying to avoid everything, Pernell, what you said, bullet heaven, where you're just driving into everything.
Absolutely. It becomes a thing where at first when you're getting used to the gameplay, it starts out with you feeling like, well, I guess I can't absorb so many bullets. I got to be careful not to, stay in the zone for too long. But then as you get better and you begin to realize that as long as you can keep the carnage coming, your shield's not going away, which means you're just diving deep, break everything as fast as you can, keep everything dying, and all of a sudden you got gold bullet status, you get golden god achievements, and you're just feeling great about yourself. And then a missile shows up and just says, oh crap, I can't dodge that, I can't absorb that, or a laser shows up. And the lasers are particularly hilarious because as you get further in the game, they'll just drop the guys that fire the laser will just drop from the top or bottom. You'll get a quick warning. It's zam. You're whoops, I didn't see that coming. So I do enjoy that that risk reward vibe that you get from it. It makes the bullets feel a little bit negligible until your shield wears off. Because when that happens, you can't eat bullets for a while, and depending on when you let it occur, you might be in a bullet storm that you were expecting to consume the bullets from, and now you're kind of vulnerable. So it's a good time.
Thanks so much. Yeah, that was kind of the whole core idea of this, to have this game where the dynamic constantly shifts, right? So depending on the state of your ship, whether you're in, as we like to call it, neutral, basically shieldless, or with a shield, or in your danger reboot period, the level basically plays different, depending on where you are in the stage. So that was really the simple base idea of the whole game. Yeah.
And then we try to build all kinds of things around that core mechanic, right? I was listening back to last week's episode and listening to what you said about the game, and it was really cool. Not only were you talking positively about the game, which obviously makes us happy, but like it looked like we did elicit the exact reactions from you guys that we were actually going for. Not just with the core mechanics, but also with the structure of the game, the meta structure with the unlockable modes and things like that. So we were really happy to hear that. Apparently, we succeeded, at least with you guys.
What exactly is your goal? What exactly was your goal, and what were you trying to elicit from players with this game that you got from us? What exactly were you looking for from us?
Well, it's tough to just outline one goal. We had several goals making this game, but the thing that Hans is talking about is the structure that sort of grew through its development, where we have a very welcoming mode, which is Jaeger mode, which has a very gentle difficulty curve, and which gives you the breathing room basically to learn the game's mechanics. And we've also seen from people that are complete beginners at shoot 'em ups that mode can already be quite a lot to handle for them, we wanted at least to give players enough pushback, and we did that also with a dynamic difficulty rank. The longer you go without dying, even in the easiest mode, the harder the difficulty. The more the difficulty jacks up. And even within the Jaeger mode, if you become good enough to where you kill the boss of every third stage with a golden shield active, you can open up a harder route. So even the easy mode you can make harder, and the better you do, the higher you score. You can also get trigger the appearance of an optional boss, for example. Yeah. So even within the Jaeger mode, we wanted people still to feel accomplished by clearing it. Whether they would be up to doing the rest of the game or not.
See, that brings up an interesting point for me, too. This is a little bit of a oomph for some players. Maybe I just didn't notice it, but I got through Jaeger mode and got a notification. I'm not sure if it was an achievement or something, but something to indicate to me that I did not fight the secret boss. And I was like, wait a minute, there was a secret boss. And I'm guessing it might have been...
You got the underachiever achievement then, yeah.
So I noticed that most exits, there's one warp gate, and at one or two, I saw two warp gates. But I didn't know which one to take, so I was just like, I'll go into this one. I got to feel that would have been how I ended up missing the boss, because I chose the wrong gate.
Nah, the boss doesn't depend on the route that you choose. It will appear at any time once you have landed the conditions that you need to trigger it.
Yeah. So I need to get back in there and find that jerk.
Yeah, he's hiding somewhere.
I'm gonna get him. But yeah, well, I can tell you right now, in case that was a factor in it, but my favorite ship is the Hydra. I started working with the Wyvern, and there's some nice concussive fire that you can get out of that when you charge it up. But the Hydra is good when you think your shield's about to go down, but your EX just made it in time. So you're like, let the missiles go. Let it find things to blow up for me. And just keeps you rolling.
Definitely the ship that most players gravitate towards when they're starting out. So there's three ships, right? And Hydra is kind of the middle of the road ship that covers most bases, and then the other two are a bit more specialist. Was also challenging to balance those, and I think we didn't quite get the balance completely right, because most people, even if you look at the leaderboards, most people are still playing Hydra. We're working on tweaking the other two ships a little bit for an upcoming update.
Okay. And if it's something that's easy is answerable on here, what would you say was the thing that you felt made the ships get the rankings that they got? Obviously, the best ships is the more difficult ship is a faster ship, which I get from playing the Days of Gradius. But what were some of the other factors?
We definitely tried not to make any ship just plain better than any other. So they're just playing a bit different, right? Like Wyvern is the fastest, but has the smallest hitbox. Greif, that's the third ship, the blue ship, is a bit slower, has the biggest hitbox, but has that EX shield. So its EX ability is a bit of a a mix of a passive and an active ability.
It's a passive-aggressive ability.
It's passive-aggressive, yeah, definitely. But that allows you to even absorb missiles. So it's we intended it to be actually the most beginner-friendly ship because it allows you to basically become invincible. You won't be invincible against collisions with stage hazards and enemy ships, but everything that the enemy ships can throw at you can absorb with that shield. So basically, you can if you chain it correctly, you can basically you'll never be in danger, right? You'll always have a shield or an EX shield. But it turned out that it's not as straightforward to use. That's why people still gravitate towards Hydra the most. And then I don't know if you've played it.
Of course, its slow movement can also be off-putting to some players.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And I don't know if you've seen it, but there's also Chimera mode, which has a fourth ship, the Chimera, which is just an amalgamation of the three ships, but only with their best properties. So it has the smallest hitbox, the fastest movement, the strongest weapons, and that one is clearly better than the others. Like your damage output is completely crazy.
But that's the rub of that mode. You get one life, right? So it's like you got all this cool stuff, but don't get shot.
No. And that mode is also
you feel like you're invincible, but then you get hit once and it's over. It's highest highs and lowest lows.
Yeah. And that mode is also endless, which so I'm actually not very good at it because I'm a player that makes mistakes. And with the other modes, I can recover and correct my mistakes. But you only get one chance in Chimera mode. That's it.
It's interesting too, because as I looked through the modes and I was playing around with them, I was questioning which of the modes would likely have the more active leaderboards. So like Jaeger mode is beginner friendly. It has an ending. Krieger mode is a little bit harder. Also has an ending. Then Chimera mode, like you said, is endless, but you only get one life. Which at the time I was like, that's got to be the one that people are pushing hardest on, because not dying endlessly and just getting crazy points, that's how you flex your muscle. And then Seeger mode is pretty much like a short span, but everything wants to kill you. Like it's brutal.
Yeah. It's one long continuous stage. So getting to the end is about 7 to 8 minutes, I guess. In 7 to 8 minutes you can clear that mode. But it basically tests you completely on your mastery of the game's mechanics.
Yeah, I didn't survive 7 or 8 minutes in secret mode. I'm comfortable admitting that with myself.
You'll get there. Yeah. Chimera is definitely a very competitive mode, scoring wise, but it's also a bit of an acquired taste. Not everybody gels with it, but people that do. So there are players that play nothing but Chimera mode. Basically go straight for Chimera mode and don't play anything else.
Yeah, for me, that's currently my favorite mode, specifically because there's not a lot of quote unquote stakes involved, right? Like it's equivalent to playing a puzzle game that has an endless mode like Tetris, right? You always starting out in the beginning with the intent just being get a score before I die, right? You didn't get to stage 15 through some crazy pattern and now I die. Like crap, I gotta start from the beginning. Like, no, that's the whole point. You get a high score. So
especially with like veteran shmup players, we've seen that a lot, that they get stuck in restart syndrome, basically, right? They start to play Krieger mode and they die on, I don't know, the third or fourth stage or something, and they immediately restart the thing. So they might as well just play Chimera, where there's no other option but restarting it, right? And we've seen them actually enjoy that a lot.
Absolutely, and actually that gets me on another general idea here too. So, to sidestep from your actual game for a moment, obviously this is a very good shooter, a good shmup, but I'd also assumed that coming into this game, you guys were fans of shmups prior. So what are some of your favorite shmups and potentially games that may have inspired your decisions into this game?
Yeah. Shall I kick that off first?
Please do.
Yeah, I'm out of the two of us, I'm definitely the shmup head.
Very much so, yeah.
And it's very... my top 5 or top 10 changes on every day. So I'll just, I'll just name check some of the real concrete influences on Schildmaid. So of course the let's say the general sort of attack patterns and enemy patterns and stage layouts are very much informed by the Gradius series.
Oh yeah,
as well as the Wyvern ship. So, you got your little turrets on the top and the bottom of the screen, and there's these little like drones flying around and enemies that fly to your position and shoot aim bullets at you. And then we added on from there as well. So we got some mechs in there and some a lot of laser patterns that are maybe a little bit more Taito shoot 'em up style. And then the main core mechanic was actually inspired by the Super Nintendo version of UN Squadron. Because that has a really funky health system where if you get hit, you don't immediately die, right? You got a health bar, but it starts off like a danger state where you have to survive. During the danger state, you can't get hit, otherwise you actually die. But if you manage to survive, then you can continue playing, just be it with a lower or a diminished health bar. So that is actually sort of the core idea that inspired the whole shield system, with, of course, a very similar danger period after your shield expires.
Cool. Okay. And also, just for the record, I'm going to have to say before we move to your answer that my answer changes every day. That is the gamer answer, because it's hard to pinpoint that specific set of games. So you're just like grasping at the time.
Yeah. I do have to say that I kind of started coming back to shoot 'em ups when I imported Mushima Sama Futari for the Xbox 360 back in, 2010 or 2011 or something.
Yeah, 360 was a bit of a shmup renaissance, honestly.
Yeah, that really brought me back into the genre, and it made me realize how much I had missed those games in arcade-style games,
There's so many 360 shmups I still need to pick up. There were so many good cave shmups available on 360, most of them just in Japan, sadly.
Yeah, it's true. Basically, I only imported the region-free 360 shoot 'em ups, but those, there were quite a few of them, but that certainly weren't all of them. And then some other inspirations for Schildmaid are Dodonpachi with the 3 ships. So we didn't really make a bullet hell, it's more, the setup is more like old school horizontal shooter. But the 3 ships with the 3 colors are kind of patterned almost after the archetype of the 3 ships in Dodonpachi, the green, blue, and red ships, with their more focused and, with their speed variations and some of the variations of how focused their fire is.
Okay.
Yeah. And other games, I guess, minor inspirations were maybe Gigawing, which also came out on a Dreamcast, of course.
Just talked about that game last night, not even joking.
Well, fun. Yeah, it's good. I really love that game as well, by the way. But the inspiration that I was really looking for, of course, that also has a shield, right? But the thing that I really took from Gigawing is how great it was that you didn't have to sort of keep your eye on the meter, because you would get this audio cue like, okay, when your shield was ready to go again,
Yes, and I appreciate that very much in this game.
Yeah. So that's definitely something I wanted to incorporate in Schildmaid as well. And maybe a more subconscious inspiration was Cyvarrior by Success. I don't know if you're familiar with that game. It's maybe not as famous as the other games.
Yeah, I've never played it, but I have seen it. Like, I've seen the logo and whatnot, so I know of it.
Yeah. So the whole thing about that game is like it has a grazing mechanic. So if you fly close to bullet formations, that basically makes your ship stronger and makes it level up. And I always loved it that it changes your relation with projectiles on screen.
Yes.
So, because they become more than just a threat, something you need to stay the hell away from. No, you actually have to use these bullets to power up your ship. So it wasn't something I was consciously aware of when designing Schildmaid, but I started thinking, hey, actually there's quite some similarities just in the dynamics between Cyvarrior and our game.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. I've never played Cyvarrior, but I have played a game where you don't get a power-up from scraping, but you get a scrape bonus. And if you're score chasing, you just kind of get this high being like, yeah, I'm riding alongside this ship, just taking the paint. And you can actually see the paint scrape it off. It's cool. So
yeah. It's kind of thrilling also to fly really close to all those crazy bullet formations, yeah.
So how about you? What are your inspirations, Hans?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely a very different answer. So I wasn't very well versed in my shmupping big fan of arcade games, and I had seen a lot of the lesser mainstream shmups. So obviously, I played some Gradius and some R-Type back in the day and whatnot. But I'm nowhere near the knowledge level of where Michiel is at. So when we started out making this game, I had to learn a lot, and still am learning a lot. We are spending a lot of time on a couple of Discord servers, very shmup-centric Discord servers, where we're just looking at gameplay of people, chatting with people. But I'd like to think that the fact that we had those different levels of knowledge about the genre, and also slightly different preferences in what we're playing personally, that led us to interesting decisions about the game that we were making, right? So sometimes I come in with an idea that is not accepted in shmups, or not conforming to the general rules of shmups, and then Michiel would bring me down a little bit, but we could still find the middle ground and put that into the game, or the other way around. Michiel was saying, no, this idea is not, that doesn't conform to the general consensus on what you should be doing in shmups, and then I could weigh in a little bit and change that. So as I said, I'd like to think that led us to interesting decisions. By now, I'm a bit more knowledgeable than when we started out, but still nowhere near there. It's been a super interesting journey, though, to get to know about a lot of games that I just, maybe I've seen a couple of them in arcades and whatnot, but I hadn't played them.
Yeah.
You
also brought a lot
of very joy.
Because when you're so much into the genre, you can become very tunnel visioned about it as well, right? So Hans brought a lot of like outside perspectives as well, and a lot of the meta stuff. Like, you can actually, like similar to the online experience of modern fighting games, like, unlock like player profile titles that you can put next to your name when you're on the leaderboards and all that. Also, I guess like the meter management that we have in the game is very reminiscent of fighting games. Hans is a big fighting game player. And yeah, also, I mean, he thinks a lot also about stuff, that I can be so absorbed by just the core mechanics of the game and the design and all that he thinks of a lot of stuff that, especially as far as making it more than a game but an actual product, that I wasn't even considering. Like the accessibility features and all the other options that you can have in the game, turning all the the visual noise off bit by bit and customizing your player experience like that. I might have been if it would have been just me making the game, I might have been way too short-sighted to come up with things like that.
Absolutely.
It would definitely have turned out differently, yeah.
Yeah, like there's something to be said about the combination of having general tunnel vision about your baby and also having someone that you can collaborate with as like, okay, I'm a little bit outside the typical sphere here, but I want to have fun too. So let's talk shop, Yeah. And I feel like you get the best think tanks when you got people that come from multiple areas of the hobby or industry that you are working with. So, and it shows here too. So, and for the record, I am a big fan of, I learned about it from music games, but I'm a big fan of the whole, I earned a title that I can put next to my name for the leaderboard. So that was a good idea. That was a fantastic idea.
Sure.
I would like to say, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, during the whole design process of the game, like we started out with a very minimal prototype, and started to quickly, in the beginning, involve a couple of friends and family, and then inviting some more testers from those Discords that we hang out on, and like after the first 1 or 2 months, maybe. Like we started incorporating a lot of the feedback from those players, and we had a lot of like late night discussions about fine details and balancing and game design. And this whole iterative process maybe wouldn't have happened so much if we had just always agreed on everything and like say, okay, this is how you do, this is how you generally do it. That's also how we're going to do it. But since we had those even more than just the two of us differing opinions on things, we tried out so many different prototypes for small elements of the mechanics, and just kept iterating on them, which was fun. Was also challenging, but hopefully turned out well.
Yeah, the community involvement has really been unreal for Schildmaid. It's crazy, like how involved people got, how people wanted to help out on all possible fronts, and yeah, I mean, I've said this more often lately, but it feels almost like it's not just the game that me, Hans, and our closest collaborators, mind you, the for example, the person that did the graphics and the person that did the music and all, and the person that did the illustrations, like the key art for the game, is not just our game anymore, but pretty much everybody that got involved has had some sort of hand in it,
And I'm glad you made that comment you just made regarding, the art and the music, because I immediately had the thought process of saying, hey, speaking of the game, but not the gameplay, whoever wrote the music for this game did a banger of a job. I am a big fan of the OST in this game. It gets you nicely pumped while you're playing through it and shmupping things up. It's not too hard, but it's hard enough to make you feel like you're in a dangerous situation, but you're the one that's going to persevere in the end. It gets you pumped.
Speaking of hey, Chris showed up. Chris, how are you doing? Chris?
Maybe Either there, he might be still setting up some stuff on his end.
Yeah, he might be muted still. We're talking about how the community got involved. How long has this game been in development? When did it start?
July 2020, I'm fairly sure.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that was the very early days where we just had the original idea, started prototyping, and then quickly something started materializing. And the music actually, it's good that you also emphasized that, Pernell. The music came very early because we felt like, okay, let's just push. I don't know how we ever thought it was going to be realistic. Let's push out a small game that we can produce in 3 months, so we just have something out there. And so we got Ed Tremblay of the YouTube channel Bullet Heaven involved, because I always loved what the music that he used for his own videos, and he scored My Life in Gaming's documentary on M2 as well. Mm-hmm. So I was always a big fan of him. I have my own podcast, and I had already commissioned him to do the intro tune of that one. And so I said, like, hey, Ed, would you be up for doing just a couple of tracks for a small shoot 'em up? And then
Actually, it was just one track in the beginning, right?
No, it was the stage theme, it was the menu theme, the boss theme, and the game over theme. That was all that there was. Right. But especially the stage theme was really got us hyped. That it's basically the same theme you still hear in stage 1 whenever you start a mode, Mm-hmm. And and that was so good that we thought, like, hey, we need to step up our game here a little bit. It can't be just this tiny 1-bit, super simple pixel graphic style game that we have in mind. The music is so good, it deserves better. So that actually was a big factor in us expanding beyond our initial scope as well.
Okay. And in regards to the art, I would say, this is going to sound hilarious, but one, I do like you have the gallery option there. I'm not sure if it has every ship in the game mentioned in it, but the thought that came to mind was it would be nice if there was like more art for the enemies you fight, because of the fact that you're so busy mashing and crashing them up that you never see them. Once the game is gone, you just have a lot of explosions.
Yeah, for the enemies, we don't have any like proper key art or anything.
I'm not talking key art per se. It could just be like you're in the gallery and it's just here's a sprite of the enemy that you fought in the game.
That makes sense. We might just have to put that in. So the guy that did the graphics is actually my cousin. He's a 3D modeler and graphics guy, and the sprites are 3D like pre-rendered 3D stuff, right? Donkey Kong Country style. But if you see those in higher resolution, they look completely ridiculous because they are tailor-made to look good in that lower resolution that we went for. So the base resolution is 470 by 280. So that's approximately Super Nintendo resolution, super low, right? And if you render those sprites out in high resolution, you can see all the illusion completely goes away. The objects look completely ridiculous. Except for some of the bigger bosses, he made some proper high-res renders, but used completely different models for those.
Okay, now I get it.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. We could just add a couple of sprite sheets or whatever, or a group of enemies into the gallery. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Chris, things working yet? Chris,
he's having some troubles.
Online meetings. Am I right?
Yeah, pretty much. The troubles brought on by the Zoom generation that we are a part of now.
Exactly. Yeah.
I couldn't get into MS Teams this morning. That's a much heard excuse when people don't show up for online meetings.
You never know. You never know if it's an excuse or if the thing is actually down.
Yeah, because it's happened to everyone.
I still think it's crazy that the four of us from all four different parts of the world five of us with Chris, Texas. Pernell, you're what? Baltimore area?
No, I'm Delaware.
I'm in Pennsylvania, and then we have Germany and Netherlands, just all chatting to get. How did you two get together?
We met when we were working at Nintendo of Europe. So I was there working at the online department, for online content creation, meaning like websites, blurbs, and texts, and all that. And I was responsible for the Dutch language content, basically Nintendo.nl.
Wow.
Cool.
And Hans was doing a 6-month internship, right? At
that's right.
IT department over there at the back end, working on
No, not the IT department. The online marketing.
Online marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in charge of we.com at some point.
That's right.
Little used website where I uploaded game profiles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, really cool. I understand the issue there was that everybody was like, when I go here, do I get to hear that Wii Shop music? That's the that's the draw.
It did not have music. It might as well had music because at that time the websites were all heavily using Flash Player, which was something else.
One of my proudest moments at Nintendo of Europe was when I suggested to the webmaster that whenever people would get a 404 error page, they would have, the Zelda 2 I am error screenshot would show up there, which did actually end up, being used on the website.
Oh, they used it? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they used it. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you likely brought a lot of smiles to a lot of people's faces with that one suggestion, because
yeah, exactly. When they were hitting up the Nintendo online shop trying to get their limited editions Xenoblade Chronicles or what have you.
Oh, Christ.
I am error.
It's like, on one hand, I'm very pissed. On the other hand, that's key humor right there. Yeah, I can't be mad about that. And as a person who was fighting to get that limited edition Xenoblade Chronicles in the States, absolutely understood. Cool.
So that's already 15 years ago now that we met over there. And we just we clicked and stayed friends and
played a lot of fighting games together.
Oh yeah, that's right. And then a couple of years later, Michiel approached me and said, "Hey, let's make some games together," because I was being a programmer and Michiel was the quote unquote ideas guy,
Idea guy, yeah.
And we started working on some prototypes and games, but it never amounted to that much. I think we had some good ideas, but something was missing, right? And then in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, with a lot of free time on our hands, all of a sudden we had the ideas that turned into Schildmaid, and we were actually pretty quick in getting the first release out. So we first released on itch, just because the barrier of entry is much lower than for any of the other platforms.
November 2021, that was.
Yeah.
And that was the 1.0 version.
Exactly. And then it took us quite a while to get on Steam, mainly to real life, due to real life complications. So because we're based in Germany and the Netherlands, we had to set up a company structure that actually works with that. So we had to go through a couple of notaries and things like that. That took a a long time, but then it also gave us the time to add quite a lot of content to the game and rebalance some things. And now we're working on the console releases. So I'm usually nowadays I'm trying to optimize the game for Switch, which is a challenge, of course. And then we're working together with eastasiasoft, who are going to be the publisher for all the 3 consoles. Yep. They're going to be doing some porting, quite a lot of porting work there as well.
Very nice. We work with eastasiasoft a lot, so it's good to see you guys working with them.
Nice.
Awesome company. They have a lot of great games, so this one's going to fit in perfectly.
Really, really cool guys. Very supportive. Yeah.
Chris, you there yet? Is it working?
Yeah, I think I'm here.
Yay, we have Chris here.
How's it going?
Not bad. Thanks for the kind review as well of Schildmaid Chris.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I love the game. It's fantastic.
So Chris, tell us about your thoughts of the game, and what kind of questions do you have now that your audio's working?
Well, is there a way to put it in windowed mode so I can look at it while I'm talking? That's because I just opened it up so I could.
Yep, you can put it into windowed mode, but the game will pause if it's not focused. So.
That's okay. I remember enough about it. Yeah, I had a long night, so I overslept. And I actually woke up before the interview, and then I was like, all right, time to go get online. And then I woke up again, and it was 30 minutes later. I was like, oh. It's like,
Whoops.
This isn't the internet.
Oh, no, I did the time warp again.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. Questions. Have we covered anything about the game yet, or just talking about?
We talked about the game quite a bit, actually. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So what haven't we talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Pets. You guys have pets?
Nah, I guess the ship colors are the thing that is closest to pets. the customization option.
Yeah, I guess I'm interested in knowing, kind of like the influences that went into this game, because I did catch, there's some stuff that reminded me of like various scrolling shooters that I like.
That part we definitely did cover earlier, but there's all the more reason that now you have to listen to the episode. Someone will listen.
That's how we get you. We get you on the show and then force you to listen to it.
It's a slow process of growing your audience, but guaranteed to work.
Yeah. The one thing that Chris might be interested in, because it came to mind from your last question, at least I hope he's interested in it, is you talked about how you met at Nintendo of Europe and you worked there for a bit before you started doing your own thing. And it kind of got me thinking, when you have a lot of people working for a game company, and I assume a number of them are passionate about working there, did you feel that during your time there were a lot of people just kind of bouncing ideas around about, I want to make a game, or is it more like, does it feel more just like a normal job there, despite the fact that it is for a game company?
Yeah, I definitely don't want to romanticize it too much. Much more like a regular job. Also, It doesn't help that no games are being made at Nintendo of Europe, of course. That all happens at NCL and some bespoke second-party studios. Here
so that's Nintendo Japan?
Yeah, NCL is Nintendo Japan, Nintendo Company Limited. So what we did over there basically amounted to customer service, marketing, and local distribution.
I was kind of hoping for that. But
yeah, a really cool thing that Michiel did while I was there as well. Like one day a month or something, or was it maybe even once a week? He organized like a small event. Where he was introducing people to games. Yeah.
I actually wanted people within the company to play more games, to know what the hell we were actually talking about, especially online and marketing.
And of course, it's not like nobody was interested in the games, right?
No.
Obviously, there were lots
that is very interesting.
But not everybody,
The way in that it differs from a regular job is that you'll find an above averagely large segment of your colleagues who actually are really into video games, And some of them actually I had one colleague over there as well, who I bought a lot of his Dreamcast and Saturn games from, the ones that he was selling off. He sold me games like Batsugan, for the Sega Saturn, and a bunch of cool Dreamcast games like Cannon Spike as well, and what else?
You got Street Fighter 4 off of one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really cool. But then also at the same time, you'll find people working there that might as well be working at a bank or a law firm, that absolutely have no affinity with the brand or games in general.
Yeah,
so
but that definitely wasn't us. And,
no, that wasn't us. No.
One of the reasons that we became good friends was definitely games. Like we were playing some fighting games in the lobby, like an actual physical lobby, right? Playing some fighting games there and checking out some of the new Nintendo stuff coming out. And then I was only there for 6 months, right? So after that time ended, we just kept playing games and became good friends. And back in those days, Michiel was living in Germany, so Nintendo of Europe headquarters are located in Frankfurt. And at some point, he moved back to the Netherlands. So nowadays, we try to visit each other's places every so often. And
the Deutsche Bahn, if the railway services go operating, yeah.
Yes, lots of great tales of interest there. Horrible tales.
I'm all sitting here like romanticized, not so much Nintendo, but like, wow, you guys have a functional railway system, and then you're like, oh, that thing.
Sometimes we do,
yeah.
But like, I am kind of glad for that answer too, because over here, at least online for sure, and some people even locally, you'll hear a number of people be like, "Oh man, that's the dream, working for XYZ." But nah, I had a vibe that there's a lot of like, it's just as another company, Like
it is another company, yeah, for sure. But I'm also really happy that I did get the opportunity to work there, because my first system at home, which is not common for many Europeans, was a Nintendo Entertainment System actually. It of course made much more of an impact over on your side of the Atlantic Ocean. And yeah, so I've been a long time fan of Nintendo's games, and of course, if I wouldn't have gone to work there, I would have never met Hans, and we would have likely never started working together. Yeah.
And what would be considered the more common system to have grown up with in Europe?
Commodore 64. Like
Gotcha.
the home computers were way bigger over here. Also because it felt more educational, because people thought, like parents said, like, okay, well, my kids can use it for homework as well. It's not just games,
Which is what we did, of course.
Yeah. And then some people would have floppy disk drives, but most people would buy games on cassette. Like audio cassettes, and those were super cheap. So you, instead of your what was it? $60 for a Nintendo cartridge. Those C64 games only costed a fraction. So people would have lots of games. They were easy to copy and pirate as well, which helped a lot.
Oh yeah, that always helps.
Yeah, then Commodore Amiga came along. In the Netherlands, the MSX, which was a Japanese system, also was very popular. Over in the UK, I have a lot of UK people that I podcast with. They were all about the ZX Spectrum. So home computers were much more of a thing here, which is also why we never really got much wind of the whole video game crash of '83. That just didn't have much of a bearing over here.
And also, Michiel was actually working at Commodore at one point, right?
That's right. Yeah,
oh, nice.
at a company that had the license to do new gaming products with the Commodore name on it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Times as well. Yeah.
I still see people like making stuff for Commodore 64 like nowadays.
Yeah, we used to go to these demo scene events where we would do some sponsorships with Commodore, and you see people doing like Mode 7 Super Nintendo graphics on a Commodore 8-bit system. That sort of
amazing
stuff. Like doing
ridiculous things with old
hardware.
Like, I actually have a buddy who lives over there who like composes Commodore 64 music. Goes by like Mudprints. He's like,
that's cool, man.
Brought that back and he's like, wow, people are still putting out really good music for this system.
Yeah, the SID chip of the Commodore 64 was super powerful. That audio chip. People, and I think even like some I want to say modern day producers, but now we're talking like 20 years ago. But like producers like Timbaland used some of the sound chip sounds of the Commodore 64 in there and things like that.
Oh yeah, I definitely can say I heard a little bit of that in the soundtrack to this game, which I don't even know if I mentioned in my review. I love the soundtrack to Schildmaid.
Thank you. Yeah. We
Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah, you did fine. Yeah, you did great. Yeah, it was done by we spoke about it also briefly, but it was done by Ed Tremblay from Canada.
Cool.
Who he has his own like shoot 'em up review channel called Bullet Heaven on YouTube. He's been doing that for a long time as well, and he used to use a lot of his own composed music for the little intros and segues in there. So
that's also that's one of the big parts of the content update. When we moved from itch to Steam, we got a lot of new music made by Ed as well. Like those when you go to the second and the third loop, or fourth and fifth loop, wherever you go, you get those arranged tracks of the stage themes.
Oh, very nice.
And it was so amazing to see. Like we'd reach out to Ed, like, hey, sorry, we want to add some new music. You got some time for that, man? And he's like, yeah, give me 3 hours. You'd have a couple new tracks. It's completely beyond me personally.
Yeah, it's crazy. And
how he does
think
that, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's insane. And then there's of such high quality as well, which is even crazier. You know, it's not just like he's just pooping them out or anything like that.
Yeah. That's all. Yeah, some folks are just in the groove, you know.
Yeah. He used to tell me
Literally,
one time, like he would dream of music and then wake up and then write down the notations and everything. Like he had some melodies in his head. And
that's what we do with game mechanics sometimes, though, right?
Yeah. There you go.
That's not what I was thinking.
Dreams and showers.
Like he killed 3 hours. Like I picture him being like, I got 3 hours. Okay, he goes to the sound vault and like cranks it open. Is like, it's time, my babies. I have a home for you. Like he's already composed. He was just waiting for the right place to put him. He's like, here they go. So
could be like Jake Kaufman, where you're just a crazy savant with music, and you're just able to put tracks together in an ungodly short amount of time. We have friends who do like 1 hour composition battles that, you know, just what can you whip up in an hour? And it's insane what people could do with talent. I don't have talent. I don't know what that's like.
And music in shoot 'em ups is also really important. It's important in most games, you know, but it's really important, I think, because you're replaying these levels, trying to get better. So you need something, and Pernell was also talking about this earlier. You need something that makes you feel invigorated when you play. You know, that gives you energy, that gives you life while you're playing. And
absolutely,
he completely nails that, Ed.
So like, I can tell you, which by the way, this is me doing a wacky self plug. If you're down with VGM, I actually co-host a video game music podcast. You guys are welcome to check out down the line called Rhythm and Pixels, which is like all about like, like it's like VGM it's my shit. Like I love this stuff. So
I'm into it.
Oh yeah, you run a freaking channel on this stuff. Like he runs a channel on VGM music too. Like it's a good time, which is also why like I put a lot of emphasis on, because I can tell you right now from personal experience, there have been games that are critically acclaimed that I just wouldn't play because like the music's not sitting with me. I can't have fun with this. I got to stop. Like it is a very important component to games. So you guys ultimately nailed the entire package here, and it is worth noting to say that. I appreciate that you guys came up with this great product and you got it all right. Oh, good. But like that leads me to one interesting question. You always got to ask this when somebody produces a product that ends up being really fun and is really good and they're happy with it. What would be something that you guys could think of that you wish you could have put in, but you just didn't quite have the time or the resources?
Right. That's a good one. Basically, everything that we are not putting in this one, we're putting in the sequel, which we've started planning out or plotting out last weekend. So then you're thinking of things like 2-player, at least local co-op, things like that, you know? More varied locales. We actually consciously kept the scope of this game fairly small so we could actually release it. So the whole thing is based around this fleet that is threatening your planet, right? So all you do is like go in multiple attack runs, the multiple loops to wreak as much havoc and chaos among that fleet with your fancy shield technology, with the help of your fancy shield technology, so you can make the invaders kind of like, drop their plans. Which is why you're actually all the time only in space, like you're only in space locations. But for a sequel, we would love to have more varied locales, and then of course you have more themed stages, like you go to different planets and there's different kinds of enemies there. There's more variations between, like at least visual variations between the enemies. That sort of thing. That's definitely what a lot of the stuff that we're looking forward to do in a sequel.
And outside of those, game layout and content elements, I have a lot of ideas for like online functionality, some social integration things, more meta stuff. That also just takes a long time to build and test. But for example, Michiel, I'm sure we can talk about this, right? Like one of our testers and now friends, and so a guy named Actane, he's doing these streams on YouTube where he does kumite events. So what he does is he takes a game that none of his guests have played and kind of pits them against each other. Like say they take what's a game that came out recently? Maybe Gunvein. So none of his guests have played Gunvein, and they play it for the first time, and then he sets up a timer and sees who can get the furthest in the game within 30 minutes or something like that, right?
It's like the wizard.
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah, and then on his stream you see everybody's screen like in real time running side by side.
That's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe like the multi-user the speedruns that Games Done Quick does, but nobody has seen the game before, right? And he has these really cool screen layouts on Twitch then, and we were thinking about, this lends itself really well as an actual multiplayer mode for a game that doesn't include traditional multiplayer features, right? So things like that that would just take a lot of time to set up and get working properly.
You could set up some sort of
something
fighting game inspired lobby system when
exactly
you see each other's screens when everybody's playing at the same time, that sort of thing. Yeah.
One thing I find would be interesting to try as a possible sort of semi-multiplayer element that could work. In the event that you made the game work like this, because you mentioned earlier that part of your inspiration was Gradius, right? If some of that in the sequel factored into like your ship builds or whatnot, you could have it so that a player's playing the game, they get through a stage, and depending on what they do on the stage or how they succeed, they might be able to send a version of their ship to someone else's game, either as a co-op partner or as an enemy that shows up in the stage. It could yield them more points if they destroy it and stuff like that.
Extra power-ups or really secret bonuses. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it might even get people to like tailor their ship to be like, what is the cool ship that not only will do well for me in the game, but will also be the biggest challenge for people trying to get points off of destroying my ship?
That sounds like an excellent idea, yeah.
What is the dumbest looking ship I can create to invade someone's game? Like, can I make a dick-shaped ship and then invade someone else's game?
Course, the fashion souls of shmups.
The huge tragedy, the tragic loss for the Wii was that there's a shmup on it. Oh no, I'm forgetting what the name of it is. But there was a shmup on it.
Blastworks, right? Where you could make your own stuff.
Blastworks, yes, where you could create like any kind of ship. Like in the time when that was running, when the servers were on, folks were like they didn't have any restrictions on like copyrights or anything, so people were just going completely nuts, making like terrible Sonic the Hedgehog or something like that, making their ship into that. There were dick ships, of course.
Obviously,
just
gotta have those.
I remember from my time at Nintendo of Europe, as a funny side anecdote, that it was somebody's job with the whole Mii thing, where people could upload their Miis to everybody else, for everybody else to see. There was just somebody's job to remove dick faces and Hitlers all day on the main channels. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with Blastworks, but
got him. There's another one. Got him.
But I really, really hope someday somebody like creates a shmup that was like that aspect of Blastworks. The actual gimmick of it didn't really lend itself well to custom ships or anything, because it also had that thing where when you destroyed an enemy, it would like start to leave the screen, and if you grabbed it, you could make it part of your ship. So you ended up with like just this massive screen size ship.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah. Of course, there have been games like DANGEN, which was like a shoot 'em up builder, and recently a game or software called STG Builder was released as well, right?
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, check that out.
I might check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciated the Wild West of like not, of having like just this terrible Sonic the Hedgehog ship and playing through like a standard shmup with it.
User creation stuff is always crazy.
Before we started making Schildmaid, I also used Super Mario Maker to make some shmup levels.
Oh wow, that's awesome!
With the flying clown car,
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Carnage, I think maybe it was not called STG Builder, but Shmup Creator. I think Carnage just posted a link to that in the chat. Yeah.
And there you go, Chris. You can check that one out.
Clicking it now.
Something I did want to ask is sort of an aside, but it's related to the fact that you guys have been gamer friends for a while now, even before you started producing the game, and you play games together frequently. But we've been buddy on here for quite a bit. We haven't gotten into any game rivalries. Are there any games that you guys play, like versus or even co-op wise, where you find yourself being like, this is where we are most, like contentious, like this is where we're the most competitive when we play it together?
We played a lot of Street Fighter 4 in the years after it came out, but I just spent so much more time on the game than Michiel that it wasn't really fair in that regard.
So now watches me when we play that now, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but that's just because I played it for so much, right? So, but if we play like Street Fighter 2 or something, that's more on an equal footing, where things can get heated a little bit. Other than that, not really rivalries. We do, like, every time we meet up, we try to play the games together that we had been playing lately. So just 2 weeks ago, Michiel was over at my place, and I was showing him the games that I had played lately. So we played some. There was Returnal and
nice
Chorus, yeah, exactly. And then we played some Gunvein on your computer, and we played some Rival Megagun together.
Yeah, it was fun.
Which we both hadn't been playing, and we're both huge fans. Actually, that might be the most competitive game for us is Twinkle Star Sprites.
We're friends.
Nice.
We're friends now. We are friends now. Twinkle Star Sprites is my jam.
Yeah, I love that game.
It's an amazing game. Yeah. So, have you played Rival Megagun then?
Yes, I bought it specifically because, like, wait a minute, this is totally inspired by Twinkle Star Sprites.
Yeah. They kind of made that before we were able to do it, because when we were playing Twinkle Star Sprites, hey, we should do some sort of spiritual follow-up to this game, because nobody has really built on this idea that much, And then Rival Megagun came out, so we didn't have to do it anymore.
But there's still room. You could totally, there's things that haven't been done yet with that concept. You could totally do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of an unexplored space there, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, you release it, I'm buying it. So, just saying.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then
we could be the rivals to Rival Megagun.
Rival Megagun, yeah. And then last time I was at Michiel's place, we played a lot of Demon's Tilt, the pinball game.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that was amazing.
We played that kind of competitively, just passing the controller around, see who would get the highest score,
Yeah.
They have a new one in the works too, don't they?
Yeah, they have Xenotilt, the follow-up, which is more like, Demon's Tilt was, of course, more like Devil's Crush, and Xenotilt is going to be more like Alien's Crush.
And because
I was going to say, that's a pretty natural progression.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and because it's Michiel is such a retro elitist, so after we played Demon's Tale, of course, we played the Mega Drive. What's it called?
Yeah, the Mega Drive version of that is called Dragon's Fury, the Western release of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it? Are they gonna do a dragon one next?
yeah. It was actually the same as Demon's or Devil's Crush on the TurboGrafx and PC Engine. But then Dragon's Fury is the Mega Drive port, and it was ported by Technosoft, so it has that real Technosoft kind of feel to it, the graphics and the sound. Yeah,
love it.
You see what kind of walking encyclopedia this guy is, right?
Yeah, sorry, I'll shut up now.
No, that's amazing.
That's like Chris with retro games too. You guys
I
probably
was
have a trivia off.
I don't know about that, but have you ever tried Jackie Crush on the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom?
It's on my to-buy list still. I read the reviews back in the days, and they weren't as thrilled about it, the reviewers of those British magazines that I used to buy, as they were with the Mega Drive and TurboGrafx Crush games. So
Gotcha.
They said like the table was a little bit uneventful in comparison, and that it wasn't designed as well to where it was very hard to get off the bottom of the table and get up there, but it still looks cool. So if I can find it for not too much money, the Super Famicom cartridge of that, I'll definitely grab it.
Yeah, I got it for like, I don't know, $10 or something because somebody just didn't know what it was. So
Did you like
that's usually how it goes. Yeah, I like it. I actually really like the soundtrack of it. It's a bit more like funky.
Yeah, it's like Devil's Crush, but then with a more Japanese demonic stylings, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would say Demon's Crush is probably a little bit better, but also I don't even have a TurboGrafx, so I have not been able to play it on the actual hardware, just through emulation and whatnot.
That's my baby. I still have the Hue cards for those darn games.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a pretty expensive system now to collect for.
Yes,
of course,
it is.
You can go the EverDrive route and all that, but I'm kind of a sucker for getting the actual games.
I agree. Like I am a big fan of the idea that I can save space by putting it all on this one device. But the Duo was my favorite console, period. And I loaded it to my uncle. He had a dog mangle up the AC adapter. The sound card blew out on it. It just was a mangled mess, and I spent way too much money to resurrect it from the dead. People were like, "Why did I just let it go?" I'm like, "It's my Duo. You don't understand. It's my baby."
Nice.
There aren't a lot of those around.
No, they're not.
So I was gonna think. So since you know a lot of retro stuff and tying it like back to shmups, what are some of your favorite really ridiculous things in shmups? Because we all know shmups can get real ridiculous. No, I mean just like silly things. Like,
does it get more ridiculous than the Parodius series?
Oh yeah, I love it.
I was on a podcast of Kenny Rins, a British podcast that I'm usually a panelist on, and we covered in one episode of 2 hours the whole Parodius series. So I was playing through all the games in that series again, and that's out of control, crazy. There's I think it's Jikyo. Yeah, Choaniki. I think it's Jikyo Oshaberi Parodius, aka Chatting Parodius, where you have a guy shouting in your ear all the time. And it starts out in a penguin disco level. So
nice.
You kind of start off in space, and then you enter, let's say, the area. You got all these like little penguins with afros and shades and like DJs and like lots of disco balls and disco lights, and it starts playing this crazy ass remix of Casey and the Sunshine Bands. That's the way I like it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, when I started playing that game, that hit me out of nowhere, and I didn't know what hit me.
You gotta love Parodius. Well, and two of the Parodius games actually came out in Europe. As of now, like none of them have ever been released in the US.
Yeah, we were talking about that on that same podcast. Interesting that they did see it fit to release some installments in Europe, but not in the US. Yeah, same with the Twin Bee games as well.
Yeah, true. Although we kind of got a Twin Bee game in the form of Stinger.
Yeah,
on the NES, but
on the NES,
but it definitely didn't have the Twin Bee name.
Yeah. Yeah, and Joe said Joe Aniki. Yeah, and that's also as bizarre as it gets, right? But the first Joe Aniki on PC Engine is actually quite a solid game made by Etsu's Masai.
Joe Aniki's great.
Yeah, the PlayStation one with all the digitized graphics just veers more into all-out ridiculousness and isn't that great to play. But the earlier ones actually are really solid. And I have this nutty fighting game on the Super Famicom as well, Cho Aniki Bakuretsu Ranto Hen. So it's basically like we should play that together next time, Hans. It's a fighter, but you're basically airborne, and you got these crazy Cho Aniki characters.
I've seen that game. Yeah.
Excellent.
That looks completely nuts. Yeah.
So you're flying around each other and kicking each other in the shins and all that with your crazy bodybuilders. And all that.
We weirdly enough did get Cho Aniki through the Wii Virtual Console.
Yeah,
and that's the only official release I know of. I might be wrong. There might be others, but yeah, I definitely bought that.
Yeah. Oh, Carnage also says in the chat, SML had the devs from Demon's Still on not too long ago.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago. Might have been longer than a couple of weeks. It's been, I can't remember. My memory sucks. So
I listened to the interview that you guys did with the guy from Zen from the Pinball
Mel
Effects,
Kirk, yeah.
Yeah. That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude. We love having guests on the show. It's always awesome to have him on. I know we planned to go like a half hour, 45 minutes, and now we're on like an hour 15. So I feel bad that I'm taking up all your night. Is there anything that you guys wanted to talk about that we didn't bring up?
I don't know. I feel like we covered a lot of ground, didn't we?
We did, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we even already started talking about the sequel. But maybe worth stressing that Schildmaid MX is out on Steam right now. And coming to consoles later this year with eastasiasoft. We've said it before.
We also recently bundled up with a couple of friend developers. So you can get a bundle of 4 games on Steam for 20% off. And if I understand that correctly, on Steam, like if you already own one of the games, that price will be deducted, so you're not buying it again or anything.
That's
it's called the Indie Shmup bundle, and there's some pretty good stuff in there. And all of those devs, we've also been collaborating with during development, and we have a bit of a build up a bit of a circle with other shmup devs and other indie shmup devs that were testing each other's games and giving each other pointers, and
promoting
that's really
each
fun.
other and picking each other up when we have the chance. So
exactly.
In that bundle is a game called Operation Steel by a developer from New Zealand called BB. Undermark Games is a studio name, and it's basically a roguelike shoot 'em up. And
very cool,
when I heard first about it, I felt like that shouldn't work, but he designed it in such a way that it does work. So really fun, really cool to check out. Another game on there is Dead End City by Pixel Liquor from the United States, which is a Mad Max vertical car shoot 'em up. Very unusual and very cool and very nice pixel art.
That's a great company name too, Pixel Liquor.
And he his name is Reg, and he used to work at Capcom as an artist. So that's his whole background. He's a great pixel artist.
His pixel art is fantastic.
Yeah. So Dead End City is in that bundle, and then of course our game Schildmaid MX is in there, and then from Japan we got Terraflame in there, which is by a dev called Terrarian, who seems to release a game every 6 months or something. He just cranks them out one after another.
Wow.
Very productive.
Usually his stuff is very like Star Soldier inspired, very PC Engine or TurboGrafx inspired. And this game that's in there now, Terraflame, is very much inspired by Thunder Force 3 in specific.
Okay.
Cool. Well, we'll be sure to include a link to that in the show notes so people could check that out. That looks like a really good bundle.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Pernell, what were you saying?
He mentioned that the guy's inspired by TurboGrafx shmups, and it got me thinking it'd be nice if somebody made a game inspired by Cybercore. I haven't seen that theme since Cybercore, which is like a game where you fly like an insectoid ship that evolves as you shoot through the stage. and all the enemies are like giant insects and like insect possessed objects. It's a weird game, but it's so good.
I know a few other insect themed shoot 'em ups, but Cybercore doesn't immediately ring a bell. So you got me there.
You found a game a shmup that he doesn't know. That's that's an achievement.
Badge of honor. I get 500 AP for that.
Yeah.
What system is that on? Cybercore?
TurboGrafx.
TurboGrafx.
Okay, cool.
Like,
it is going to find it.
My favorite ship is the green one.
Nice.
Look at this game. There you go.
Videos,
Boom.
Yeah, exactly. Like in Schildmaid, also the green one.
Yeah.
But it hasn't felt like we've been talking for a long time at all. It feels like we got a lot to chat about.
When the game is coming to console, we'll have to get you guys back on to do this again.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah. I would love to add it to my Switch collection. I have 92 shmups on the Switch right now.
Jesus.
There's a lot
That's a lot of
shmups.
Huh?
Yeah.
Just on the Switch?
Yeah, just on the Switch. Oh yeah, no, it's hundreds elsewhere.
Jesus. I had no idea.
But thank goodness for the Switch allowing you to create folders now, because I can just point at my shmup folder and be like, how many of these things do I have now?
Yeah. Carnage is mainly an Xbox player. Yeah, coming to Xbox as well. And the Xbox is missing out on a lot of shoot 'em ups these days. So we're pretty happy that we're able to bring it to Xbox as well.
Yeah, and then PS4 and PS5 as well, of course.
Especially since the glory days of the 360 and all the shoot 'em ups on there. Only right.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I have a friend that sold me a stack of like cave shooters for the 360.
Oh, nice.
Very happy with them. They're almost all out on Switch now, though, so I'm really glad to have them all in one place.
Yeah.
There
if you want to get rid of them on Xbox, let me know. I'll take them off your hands.
Well, on the positive, your achievements in Schildmaid will be perfect for achievement chases on the Xbox, because they'll be actually unlocking things with it. It's not just going to their store. So that'll be good.
Yeah, I do like
we just got a raid by Dopey with 30 raiders coming in. Perfect timing, because we've just been chatting for an hour and 20 minutes about the game Schildmaid MX on Steam. For everyone just joining, and to kind of wrap things up, one more time, give us the sales pitch on the game. Where is it? How much is it? What's the plan for the future? Give us all the info one more time.
Yeah, let's try and recap. So Schildmaid MX is a horizontally scrolling shoot 'em up with, I would say, a very lush audio-visual presentation. We put a lot in it, at least. And it rewards you for actually flying into bullets rather than trying to avoid them. Yeah, sometimes. Until your shield expires, at least. And... yeah, you can get it on Steam, as I said, right now, and later this year. No definitive release date yet. It's coming to all the consoles in partnership with eastasiasoft.
Very much looking forward to that. Michiel, Hans, thank you so much for coming on, chatting with us. Where can people keep up to date with you and what you're doing?
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at HitP Studio. That's HITP Studio. We're also on Instagram. Pretty much similar content on there, so it's not.
Yeah,
different.
And then give us a follow on itch and Steam. The game is still also on itch, same version as on Steam, and if you buy it on itch, you'll also get a Steam code.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So we're supporting our early adopters because the itch was a really good platform to start out on.
Nice.
Very awesome. Well, again, thank you two so much for coming on and chatting with us. Everyone, stick around. We're going to take a quick break. We will be back with more show. Chris and Pernell, you're going to be here. We're going to have the rest of the PartyCast crew on, chat and reviews. We're going to take a little break and we'll be right back. Do you guys have any final words to wrap up the interview?
I guess we said it all, right?
What's your favorite soda?
Well, depending on when you ask, my top 5 or top 10 changes.
Nice comment.
That's a real soda fan's answer there.
That's a real soda connoisseur. I'm actually,
right.
Maybe this is sacrilege, but lately I've been partial to Pepsi Max with a lemon twist.
Ain't nothing sacrilegious is what that is. I'll have a sip. You too. There it is.
And
I never buy that. It's like they didn't have the Coke Zero or whatever that I usually go for.
But the lemon twist is especially what does it for me. You know,
we don't have the lemon twist in America anymore. We need to get that shit back. I love that stuff.
I'm always mad when the shelf is empty when that flavor isn't around. So,
a sad day in the soda aisle without lemon twist.
Pernell, I just want to say I like that I asked for final words and you just went on for a new question with a whole new tangent. So, Chris, I'm going to ask you, do you have any final words to end the interview?
Yikes. Let's
there
see.
Good enough. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. Another huge thanks to the HitP Studio crew for coming on and chatting to us about Schildmaid. Really cool game. Check it out now. Chris and Pernell are still here, and we are joined by a plethora of others. We've got Tim, we've got Brooke, we've got Dave K, and we've got Aki here. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Laundry.
I'm the most. I'll be in the laundry fair again. Okay.
Every time.
So it's laundry night at Pernell's house.
Every Tuesday. If I'm going to be here, I may as well do laundry.
I mean, fair.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I want to, but fair.
I bet you, if you streamed on Twitch doing your laundry, people would watch it and probably tip you or however it is they give you.
I can't fathom that, but stranger things have happened. And
maybe if you were
great.
In a hot tub.
Tub laundry. Would I just
you're doing laundry
in the hot tub with me?
With the right attitude, a washing machine is a hot tub. Let's be clear.
I don't know where you're at, man, but that's that's a turbulent hot tub with great risk of violence and danger, especially because you got to drop the lid before it'll actually start to spin and tussle. So,
you can circumvent that. That's not hard to circumvent. I'm just saying.
Oh, mercy!
For the record, I never said it was a safe hot tub.
Yeah, he's.
Well, I'll tell you what. I hit the lottery. I'll get a freaking cowboy hat
in it.
and like freaking like do like a fun like yeehaw moment where I'm just like bouncing around on the freaking washing machine while the top's open because apparently you can circumvent it.
If you win the laundry, the laundry. Make sure you put in your will that I get all your money before you go yeehawing on the washing machine. Just in case you screw it up and it shuts on you.
I have a whole list of people that are going to get that money before anybody.
Yeah, I should be the first.
I feel like
first and foremost, Joe gives me games and Brooke is awesome and bakes for me, so they're top dogs for getting money on this podcast. So
sweet.
Dave,
what were you saying?
Joe, though.
Everyone's just like stepping over Dave when he's trying to talk.
Poor Dave.
This is not really a thought worth clearing the air to express.
Oh no! Now we definitely need to hear it.
Now that I have
fall
the floor,
into the abyss,
what you should do
of my gaping butthole
is definitely get the cowboy hat. That part's essential. But
yes,
you should also and a hot tub because, like, come on, what are we even doing here if you're not sitting in a hot tub on Twitch in a cowboy hat? But you should also do your laundry like on an old fashioned like washboard. And basically,
yourself.
I would watch the screen.
The hot tub is actually just a wooden barrel.
When registers disgust at how gray your hot tub water has become, that's when you stop stream.
That's the real money. That's the money right there.
Yeah,
gray water laundry hot tubbing.
It times
and then you sell the bath water.
Oh no! I think I need more. I need longer hair for that.
No, you bottle it and sell it as a health cure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's different. I do have many health properties.
Dude, Trump turned the FDA into a meth lab. You can basically sell whatever you want now.
He's out of line, but he's in line.
That's true, but you shouldn't say it.
Full support.
Like, if there was ever a time, people talk about imposter syndrome and how it negatively affects their lives, but there's never been a better time to be an imposter than right now. So fucking go nuts.
Don't do that. Don't. Now we're gonna have like legal issues, and someone's gonna be like, I was told it was okay on the SML podcast," and be like, that one fucking listener we have gets arrested.
But it is okay, so they're solid. It is okay. Listen to this anonymous person who's talked about the victories that came of their life once they took of Pernell's Miracle Tonic. Well, I thought it was a fantastic beverage. It made my life 10 times better.
I don't know. I don't think I'm good enough to fool people.
You're a streamer, so you're already partway there.
Hey, we fooled people into thinking we're a podcast for 10 years now, so we're doing something right.
Joke's on them. We're a streamcast. Read Joe's status on Discord. Get with the picture.
Hold them on a technicality.
PartyCast, Streamcast, it's everything but an actual podcast because we don't know what we're doing.
When Pernell gets here, PartyCast.
iPods barely exist anymore, so is anything truly a podcast?
True.
Everything's a podcast. See, when
I didn't think about that.
Pernell was about to go on a tangent and was like, no, it's not worth it. Changed his mind.
No, I was just thinking.
Pernell has never thought that.
Well, first of all,
he never met a tangent he didn't want to take.
Stare right in the face, and we're going there. No, I was just thinking that stupid line from The Incredibles, like when everything's a podcast, nothing's a podcast. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, because you haven't seen The Incredibles,
no, I know what you're talking about. I'm just no-selling it.
Oh, I love that movie. Which, by the way,
yeah, no, it's a great movie.
Well, that's a tangent right there. Did you prefer the first or the second one?
The first one.
As you should. Well played.
Before the tangent gets too far, big shout out to Javors for subbing for the 7th month.
Hey.
Thank you so much for the support. Always love seeing you here.
Hey, Javors, what you prefer, Incredibles 1 or 2?
Yeah.
I've never seen the second one.
I mean, the second one's fine.
It's good. It's just not.
I'm pretty sure I own it. I just haven't seen it. There are so many Disney Pixar movies I've picked up with the intent of watching, and I just never get to.
Well, if you don't want them, I'm happy to take them off your I love animated movies.
Wait a second. Did you get the sub notification after the bathwater health cure tangent we went on?
Yep.
Believe it or not.
We found the individual who's going to do it.
Look, anyone currently in this chat.
It's going to work, so it's going to work, so they know.
If you have ever had any lack of confidence in your ability to swindle people, like throw that aside. You're going to do great.
You've heard of gamer girl bathwater? Well, check it out. My bathwater actually works. Buy this shit.
Now I wonder if we could get Nord to do like a Pernell's magical bath potion.
I mean, you can get Pernell.
Pernell's
probably
miracle
if you just ask.
True.
Nord, we want you to say something weird.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Well,
that is likely what will happen.
You'll be the OxyClean guy of bathwater sales, but with less cocaine sweat, I'm hoping.
I mean, we already have
less? Why not more?
We have 2 commercials for a pancake location that doesn't exist.
He died from, among other things, his like heroic intake of cocaine. So like, I'm not trying to get anyone else to do more. Like at a certain point, you fill up. You know what I mean?
You're just full of cocaine. You just
wouldn't that just make you a storage vessel for other people's?
I mean that's already a function that exists in a less sort of literal way. But yeah, sure.
You sneeze and it's just a puff of cloud.
Every time you sneeze,
if you're in Hollywood, you sneeze at a party.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in Hollywood, you sneeze at a party. So I mean, there you go. You're getting invited to everything.
Do they even do cocaine in Hollywood anymore?
I have to imagine.
I have to imagine there's a lot of cocaine going off this particular day in particular. I
don't know. I figure like the way our culture, everything in our culture seems to have senioritis now. I figured they moved on to something like more degenerate, like they're breaking open air conditioners and just huffing Freon.
I mean, who says they weren't doing that already?
True.
Well, I mean, the occasional, like Robert Evans, sure, but like by and large, I think the drug habits in Hollywood were fairly traditional up until now.
Those damn kids in their Freon huffing their avocado toast.
Avocado
Rihanna's.
Avocado Freon.
Millennials are ruining the Freon toast industry.
They are.
Thank you.
So anyway, we have a handful of reviews to get to. Should we dive into these?
Right. The whole reason we're here.
Sure. Yeah, I know we usually ramble a little longer, but I figure we have an hour, 20-minute interview just before this. So might as well not take up too much time.
That's how much we clocked on that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Jesus. I think 74 minutes, 75 minutes.
That's awesome. Nice job, y'all.
Yeah.
Give it a listen when you get a chance.
We'll see if it's good.
I think been pretty fun.
No, it's not. It is not.
Good.
Okay. Yeah. Bad job, y'all.
Yeah.
First of all, Joe self-deprecates every interview, so don't listen to his ass. It's a good interview, and you should give it a listen.
Right, all right.
It was a good interview.
Were the best.
It was a good interview because Pernell conducted most of it.
There you go.
Like he was on point with the questions and like the modes and everything. And I'm just sitting there like, shit, he's good at this. What am I doing?
Interviews are fun sometimes. Sometimes you get that guy that's like, it's like, so tell us about yourself. Well, you see, games are fun, and then that's happens for like another 45 minutes, and then you want to kill yourself because the person just needs to open up more. So thankfully, these guys were not that. They were freaking great. So
they were on point.
Yeah, give it a listen. You'll love it.
It's a good show. Well, at least the first half of the show is good. We'll see if this second half's any good or not. I'm betting no, but we'll see what happens.
Prove him wrong. Prove him wrong.
Yeah, prove me wrong, fuckers. Let's see how this goes.
Tanking.
All right.
Silence.
Yes.
I spaced out. I'm sorry.
The deafening
Let's make
silence.
this show good, everyone.
Encouragement.
No one talks.
Hey, me not talking makes the show good, okay?
Fair point. First game to talk about tonight is Magical Drop 6, developed by Highball Games and Storm Trident, published by Forever Entertainment, released April 25th on the Switch for $29.99. Embark on a magical journey combined with fast, dynamic puzzle action. Follow the story, battle a cast of whimsical characters, set new records, solve puzzles, engage your friends and family in local multiplayer, or compete against players from around the world through online play. Tim, tell us about your time spent with Magical Drop 6.
Hey, Joe, what's your most distinct Magical Drop memory?
Rez.
Yep. Is it me and you beating the shit out of him in Magical Drop at that one party so he'd shut up about it finally?
I remember
he got his ass beat by you two?
It took a while. We'd have these parties at Joe's house, the Friends and Gaming Festivals. Don't read too much into that.
Yeah.
And every single fucking time, like, we'd get together, Reds would just nonstop not shut up about playing Magical Drop because that's his game.
I think it was 3, wasn't it? Magical Drop 3.
It had to be 3. It had to be 3.
And that like, it's not that anyone had anything against Magical Drop. It's just that,
it.
Like,
it's just
Magical Drop's awesome. We just didn't, people were just doing other things or playing other things and didn't want to play Magical Drop. So I remember finally we came down to one of them. Yeah, we at one of them, we were like, okay, Rez, like, give us 50 rounds of Magical Drop, and if we can beat you once, you can never bring it up at one of these parties to us, or at conventions ever again. And he was like, all right, sure, let's do this. And like, me and Joe passing the controller back and forth,
failing,
wore him down, and Joe took him out.
I think it was game 50 as well.
No, it was before that. It was not down to the last.
I know
one.
it was in the 40s.
I can respect that.
I think it was like early 40s.
I can respect that thing. I thought you guys were coming saying like you like came at him and just like knocked him out, but he gave you some time. His hand got tired.
Yeah,
because
we wore him down.
When I used to go to he was my rival in that game, and I kicked this. I'm not going to curse, but I beat the stuffing out of that guy. I was the guy, but I missed
he did not even consider you to be his rival, Pernell.
Yeah, because he lied. That's why he sucks at it. And I'll take him if he's listening. He would always
talk about trying to take out Justin Wong at it. Yeah. That was his big goal, was trying to take down Wong, which good luck.
Well, if you're listening to this, Rez, I was better than you at the game. You know it. And I'll take you on whatever the hell you want.
I was better than you, and you know it.
And you know it. I don't talk smack about mini games. I talk smack about Magical Drop. I ain't messing around. I'll take his ass on whenever he wants it. Do this thing. Okay, back to the review.
Anyways,
we didn't start the review.
No, it was just funny because I told my wife that I was reviewing Magical Drop, and that was immediately what she thought of was that. Just, anyways, this is Magical Drop 6. So if you're unfamiliar with Magical Drop, it is a really fun puzzle game, just at the baseline. So and Magical Drop 6 doesn't mess that up. So yay! The whole idea is you got bubbles coming down from the top of the screen. You got a little jester man at the bottom of the screen who you control, running back and forth to pull down those bubbles. You can hold on to as many as you want of the same color. And then you have another button, one button pulls them down and then the other button throws them back up. And the idea is you want to match 3. It's a match 3 game. You can pull down 3 bubbles and throw them back up and they will match and they will disappear. But if they make contact with, if they make contact with our bubbles of the same color, all of those bubbles will disappear. You can set up chains when there will be bubbles the same color horizontally and they disappear and then things fall and then they clear out. It also rewards you with chains if you're just fucking fast, which I think is where most of the competitive aspect of the game comes from, is just like pulling down and throwing bubbles back up just like insanely fast. Because if you can clear a chain, a second set of bubbles before the first one is done clearing, that counts as a chain as well. So it is a very fast-paced puzzle game, but it's a lot of fun. Just the mechanics of it are really solid and exciting. So you have the button to pull down, the shoot up. You have a button that brings more stuff from the top of the screen if your pile's a little bit thin. You have a bunch of different characters based on tarot cards, like Tarot Arcana. It's like World and Judgment and Chariot and that shit. They will drop different patterns of junk on your opponent. It is a very heads up kind of puzzle game, but it has single player or just non heads up competitive modes as well. But I feel like that's kind of the meat and potatoes of it. As far as like single player stuff, there's like an endless mode, a survival mode, just score attack stuff, your usual puzzle game stuff. As they mentioned, you can play locally, you can play online. It's got that going for it. But there are there are some more robust single player offerings, which is where the game kind of goes off the rails for me. So there's a story mode. And there's just like what do I want to say? Just like a line of nodes, and they like branch off in different directions and have different endpoints. And each node you come to will have some kind of a challenge. It might just be like a duel against another character. It might be like, oh, you have to get this amount of chains. You have to clear out this amount of this color bubble. Just, different stuff like that to keep things fresh. Where things get weird is and I don't know exactly what's going on because the game doesn't fucking explain it. But, when you hit the menu, you could just quit out to the title screen, or I think return to map might be one of them. But I think you have a certain number of lives, or you can only fail a certain number of times before the game's like, well, you're done. That didn't go well, which is almost exactly what it says. You kind of go back to the map screen for a second. The little jester dude is like, well, that didn't go great. And then you have to start the story mode over from the beginning.
Ouch.
Ouch. Not fail.
Yeah.
Do not fail.
Yeah, do not. Well, it stinks because even playing through on easy mode, shit can still go sideways sometimes and just not work out in your favor. And there was one level in particular where I was kind of just buttoning through the dialogue. So, my bad there, but I just didn't understand what I needed to do in the level. And I was trying to back out to the map to see that dialogue again. But instead I got that, well, that didn't go well. And that was it. That was my game. That was very far along in the track. And it was just now I have to start over from the beginning. It's a weird thing. So I don't know. And there isn't a selection in the menu to just be save and quit, or save and go back to main menu, or save. That word just doesn't show up to make you feel good about saving out.
I would say, but at least for the challenges, they do give you, even though if you don't remember, if you don't read what he says, because it does get repetitive, they at least kind of tell you when you're in there, it'll be if it's the color clear, for example, have the big green bubble, and it's here's the meter, fill that fucker up. You're okay, got it, I'll fill it up. So, but and they don't. Yeah.
There's at least one oddball one that can get you at least the first time through if you don't know what you're doing. But the thing is, it's just annoying. I don't get it. I don't understand. And it makes things tedious if you fail towards the end of a path. And apparently just that having a moment where you quit out of the mode counts as a fail, or maybe it doesn't if you quit out from the menu. I don't quite understand. It's not communicated clearly, and I don't like that. But you need to clear story mode in order to unlock the other big single player mode, like Path of Destiny. But I cleared story mode and it didn't unlock. And I think, at least in this case, that you have to go and finish every different node of the story mode. It doesn't explain that, but again, I'm just guessing. There's another mode that unlocks it says it unlocks if you hit a certain score in the survival mode, which I did, but it didn't unlock. So I'm okay, is it tied to a particular difficulty? Is it just broken? I don't know. I don't know. maybe it's something that'll get patched, maybe it won't. It's light on the details. Sometimes these games are just like this, and you just gotta figure it out, puzzle it out even. But as someone who was just trying to, who was trying to explore the content of the game in order to tell other people about it, and it wasn't unlocking, it was frustrating. And it's not like the story mode is super long if you just sit down and hammer through it. But still, it's just not clear on what the rules are exactly, and I don't appreciate that. And at the end, it's all just different ways of presenting magical drop to you, which, not to get too far, like that's the good part of the game. The good part is they have this banger puzzle formula that is just like so much fun to play. And looks, when did Magical Drop 5 come out? How old's that game? What did that come out on? I don't know.
I didn't even know there was a 5.
I didn't know there was a 4 either. It was like 6.
5.
Okay. Magical Drop 5 was over a decade ago. It was 2012.
Wow.
So this is definitely, this is definitely a much sharper game graphically than anything Magical Drop has seen before. So it's a very nice visual upgrade for modern consoles and displays and such. And that's great. And the game still plays great. And just the way that's like my only beef is like, I don't know why these single player modes are like this, and like the unlock system is like this. It's just it's 2 weeks in a row I'm baffled by a game's unlock system.
Dude, there is one more thing, if you didn't come across it, that hopefully, unless you found a way around it, which would help me immensely. In 2-player mode, you'll go through the menu options to be like, hey, I want to do 2-player mode. You select it, you go through, choose your characters, you play the match, and when you are done, there is no option to just have a rematch.
Yeah.
Instead, it takes you all the way back to the beginning screen, and you have to go through all that again, which is bonkers.
Stupid. Yeah, you just want to keep playing. It's weird.
So it sounds like it's a good game with some baffling design decisions.
Yeah. Absolutely. Some confusing UI, some bad UI that could just make everybody's life easier if they just patch that up to be more intuitive and more in line with expectations from modern games. You shouldn't just hit start and it just says quit out. It's like, no, or resume. Those are the two options, like resume or quit out. Well, wait, what about save? What about rematch? What about restart level? What about options? What about all that stuff? I'm spoiled because like games are getting better and better and better at offering like good explanations and tons of settings and lots of options. This is pretty bare bones in that respect. And it does hurt the experience, unfortunately.
Well, it's a $30 experience. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so I'll say that, the game is good. Like the gameplay is good. If you're buying it as a single player experience, well, maybe beware. Maybe hold off until maybe they iron out some of these issues to make it less confusing. But if you're buying it as a single player experience, you're going to kind of grind through that stuff anyways. And if you're buying it to play multiplayer, then none of that really affects you. It's pretty good. 30, I don't like to bang on how much games cost, but I don't know, 30 could be a little bit for it. It could be a little cheaper, could be a little wait for the sale, but it's a really good magical drop.
I don't know how widespread the sale is. I'm looking at the store page and it is showing 33% off for me.
Oh, nice.
I know Nintendo's
that's a great
weird.
Price.
Yeah, $20. I know Nintendo's weird with like some people get discounts, some don't, and they're not very clear about how long they last, but if you could grab it for 30% off for $20.
20, that's an easy buy it right there. That removes the restrictors, but some cautionary items for this one.
Cool. All right. Well, that is it for you, Tim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Off to bed.
All right.
Off to everyone else's reviews.
Night, Tim.
Yeah. I did mention this when I tweeted about it, but they already, last night I alluded to
R-Type. You wanted
the progression system in R-Type Final 3, and I just wanted to mention that they did They did patch something that made most of that better. I still have some complaints, but they, instead of all of the progression being tied to old levels, now only like some of it is. And importantly, all of like the early progression, you can play whatever, the R-Type 3 or R-Type Final 2, either or, and that's good. That's the main thing I wanted. And yeah, next week I'm going to be reviewing Jedi Survivor.
Oh, yeah.
But from what I've played that game so far, it's fucking awesome. So more on that next week.
I'm so jealous.
So's Jacob.
It's real good. It's real good so far. I'm excited to play more and more of it, even though I got a busy weekend because it's my little man's birthday.
Oh,
so got stuff to do. He's 8. He'll be he's turning 8 on Monday, so we're doing stuff like all weekend with him.
Well, happy birthday!
Yeah, lots of fun stuff. Gonna have a big, fun, entertaining weekend. So,
is there a theme for the party?
No.
I'm clearly the girl and grandma of the show. Oh, how
no, there is not.
Okay,
not
sweet.
Specifically.
All right, well, I hope you boys have a good time.
Alrighty, thank you. Have a good night.
Later. Our children just precious.
Oh, they're adorable. All right, moving on. Next game to talk about is Minabo, A Walk Through Life, developed and published by Devilish Games, released April 26th on Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, PS4, PS5, and PC for $14.99. Minabo, A Walk Through Life is a social simulation game where you walk the path of life while your turnip grows and thrives or not in its social relationships. Brooke, what is going on in this one?
All right, Minabo, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's a game where I honestly, no idea, because the turnips never say their own name out loud like Pokemon, so that would help. But yeah, this is a game where you are a turnip who has come out of the ground. Relatable, you've come out of the ground because your 2 turnip parents did a special chant to summon you, which is how turnip babies are made, just like in real life. You can now give yourself a name and rise up out the ground. And now you're alive. You can begin to crawl by pressing X or moving to the right. I had no idea what to expect in this game, and it's pretty much you're just walking to the right, interacting. In this game, you're constantly moving to the right because your entire life is represented by a walk you're taking with everyone else who's alive at the same time as you. Minabo, A Walk Through Life, is your story as a turnip who walked through life until they died. But it's not all about being born and dying. There's some stuff in between, and that stuff in between is different, simple social interactions you make until your life runs out, the timing of which is determined by your life expectancy. In this game, you and other turnips can die at any time, just randomly. There's no way to prevent death, only to predict when it probably won't happen, depending on how healthy and happy you are. You can determine how healthy and happy you are by checking your stats. They're always on the screen. Physical contact, intimacy, and belonging. And life expectancy is a stat too. That's always on the screen as well.
Root beer says, and you grow up to commit tax evasion.
Optimally, yes. And we'll get to that later, but nah, that doesn't happen again. I wish it did. That'd be so cool. I didn't know if it was going to be like
tie-in. That would be such a cool tie-in.
There are some kind of like secret, almost like adult joke nod tie-ins in this game, which I think are cool, but not very many of those. I don't want to give them away for spoilers. But yeah, you start out, each of these stats we're talking about has a bar. It's about halfway full and it's yellow colored. When it's close to empty, it's red. When it's closer to full, it's green. How do you get your stats up and become a healthy, happy turnip socially? Well, by socializing with other turnips you meet along the way on your walk. Every time you come across a fellow turnip, you can hit one of 3 options that pop up to give it either physical affection, which will raise the contact stat, talk to it for the intimacy stat, or cheer it on or show some sort of camaraderie, which will increase its belonging. You won't always successfully pull off one of these 3 interactions. There's basically a role that happens behind the scenes to determine success, but it mostly works. When it does work and the chosen social interaction goes well, both turnips enjoy a notable increase in their stats bar for that stat filling out. And it only takes a few successful interactions to completely max out your bar in each category, no matter how full or empty it started. All stats are steadily going down all the time the whole game, but it's pretty easy to keep yourself stable and managing them. Keep yourself stable to thriving as long as you regularly try to socially interact with other turnips you meet along the way, or who are your parents. So as you begin your turnip crawl, and soon after walk through life, you may not meet a stranger turnip for a while who isn't one of your parents. That's okay. Unlike in the real world, every turnip has two parents who are always walking with you, somewhere around you, unless one or both of them randomly die earlier than expected. If you hover over them to view their stats, you can see those stats, and you can also see the word parent. This is not the word you see when you finally do meet someone for the first time who isn't one of your parents. You'll see the word stranger there. They will have some totally random stats. Maybe they're already really lonely and sad and pissed off when they meet you. If you try to interact with them and succeed a few times, you'll see stranger change to friend. If you max out your friendship, not hard to do, represented by a few dots, you can walk together holding hands if you want to. Hold hands long enough. Isn't that sweet? It's actually pretty cute in the game too. Hold hands long enough and your relationship changes from friend to romance. Stay romantic long enough and they're now labeled as your partner. Stay partners for long enough, and there's no way to prevent it. I've tried. The baby turnips are going to start coming out of the ground, just like you did when your parents became partners. Here's where you're different from your parents. You can have multiple romances, multiple partners. They can all give you baby turnips. Sky's the limit here. I was hoping Aki would be here for this one. But you'll likely have...
I am here for this one.
Yeah, but you'll likely have... So Polly is cool for this turnip game. Just throwing that out there. But you'll likely have about one romance or one partner at a time tops in this game, just because your interactions are so limited by time, which is always passing. Well, no, you can do it if you want to. You just got to commit to it. You got to be like, hey, I want two partners. I don't want to focus on as many friends. So unless you're really going out of your way to do so because you really want it, which is totally valid, nothing morally wrong with that. Just in this game.
What if I want 10 at the same time? Can I do that?
10. That's a hard... Dang. I want to see you do it, honestly. I want to see you pull it off. I'm not going to say you can't. I'm going to tell you to go for it. But yeah, but most of the time in this game, even though you can do as much poly stuff as you want, ain't nobody got time for more than one turnip wife most of the time. So time passes quickly in this game, and you got to make choices as to who to interact with as you go through life, because there isn't time to make everybody happy. There's maybe time to make yourself really happy, maybe 1 to 2 other turnips. Super real. You're going to meet a lot of sad turnips along the way. You're going to want to give each of them all the physical affection, intimacy, and support they crave to be really happy. But you're just not going to have the resources to do that. And that is the hardest part of this extremely easy to play, extremely, extremely accessible, cute, and lighthearted game about how our limited social interactions are in this short life before we meet with death, which could be around any corner. But yeah, I'm not joking with the lightheartedness, despite some of the themes here and implied subject matter going on here. This game isn't very emotional or heavy at all. Even turnips kneeling over and dying subtly, and then the remaining turnips grieving. It's done very comically to goofy music, and it's not hard to pick which turnips to spend your time with as you all walk forward, because all turnips are kind of the same in this game. They got different names and stats, slightly different random physical design when you meet them. But you're pretty much going to be picking which ones to chill with based on what's easier for you to click on. Or if you see a turnip with a name, they all have randomly generated names. You can name yourself. You can't change anybody else's name. So if you run across somebody, you're like, oh, well, that's my boyfriend's name. I'm going to make that my turnip boyfriend. And that is what happened to me. I met 3 Carries in this game. And the first one's name was spelled Carey. I didn't even notice because my partner's name is spelled Kerry. We see Carries all over the place, so I didn't care. But then the third Carrie turnip I met in this game on my third playthrough had their name spelled exactly the same as real Carrie. And they were 5 turnip years older than me, which is the same of human years that I have in real Carrie. This is where my notes get kind of sloppy, you guys. Sorry about this part. So I was like, okay, we doing this. And I'm happy to report that Carrie and I became friends, then best friends, then partners, just like we did in real life. Human Carrie and Brooke were satisfied to simply live together and play video games and not go outside or walk anywhere ever. Turnip Brooke and Carrie, however, were not satisfied with that without even meaning to. They went on to have 7 turnip buds, which is what this game calls your kids, and live long, happy lives together at 98 and 91, respectively, when they both died. After Carrie died, Brooke actually did not notice because she walked ahead too far too quickly, and you can't turn around in this game. She was in her groove, so she never actually saw Carrie keel over and pop back up as a tombstone on the screen. So she never had to grieve. She just kept smiling stupidly, walking forward, never even really aware Carrie was gone, assuming he was just somewhere behind her. And she died a couple years later, blissfully unaware of the deep loss she had incurred. And to close out my personal notes on this one, I just want to say, I wish such an end for all of us.
Rotting?
unaware of our partner's death 2 years before we die.
Oh, okay.
That just sounds sad.
This game's like, I kept rewriting parts of this review, and I'm like, this game sounds so much sadder than it is. So take everything I've said and picture it with like really, really goofy music and goofy cartoons, and basically, you know how the Sims talk in those Sims games?
Yeah.
The turnips are basically like kind of screaming like that the whole time. It's a very comical game.
Nice. All the artwork I'm seeing for this, turnips have the roots on the top and on the bottom. Everything drawn with the roots on the bottom just looks like
I can see that
pubic hair to me. I can't put it any other way. I don't know how else to. It looks bad to me. I don't like the.
Hey, and you know what? That's valid.
I will say is there's something I kind of appreciate about the whole. I could just keep walking, and my memories of the person are still there, and I just think they're there with me, despite the fact that they're long gone.
And who's to say they aren't? No, I don't know.
Exactly. You'll never know, and that's fine because your brain is telling you they're there.
Are the same. So every time you play, it's a different experience. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, and what was funny about that for me is like I didn't even know that could happen. I played that was my third playthrough. Playthrough's probably 30, 45 minutes long, and I'm not going to say it's a glitch because I don't think there was anything wrong with the game design, but like every time you see a tombstone, you get to choose how to react to it. You choose whether you grieve, whether you shrug it off, or whether it makes you angry that the turnip has passed on. And that happened every single time, even when an acquaintance or somebody I didn't know died, except my husband, who I stayed married to for like freaking, I don't know, 80 years. Who can even count? So it was very funny and cute to me. And I don't expect that to actually happen in most people's games, but had to laugh. I thought that was pretty sweet.
Nice. Well, it is $14.99. What is your official verdict?
This game's a really cool idea. It isn't very pricey. I think it is on sale too right now. Really cute idea. I do think this game's a solid try it. While I like the game and I think it's really heartfelt and, the idea for what it is super well executed, I don't feel like there's a ton going on gameplay wise. I don't find the multiple playthroughs in campaign mode very much, even with different quests assigned, like have 3 baby turnips or die with at least 2 friends, which by the way, can I just say it's like way harder than it sounds. I do think this is really, really, really cute game. It's almost like a cute art piece. I don't think a lot of people are going to get very many hours out of playing this, but I do think it's worth the money they're asking. I played 2 or 3 times, and outside of after that, doing extra stuff just for this review, I was pretty much good on it. But I also don't think, if you're going to sink that time into it and enjoy this for what it is, I don't think that's a bad price for it either. It's just going to be up to personal taste. I think if you watch the trailer and some screenshots, you'll get an idea whether this will be worth it to you.
Sounds good. All right, that's it for you, Brooke.
I'm going to pop off for the night, you guys, but I hope y'all have a good one.
Sounds good. Do you have any final thoughts, final words?
Not tonight. I guess just stay sweet, y'all.
Oh,
nah, you too.
Stay pure.
That's I'm beyond.
I'm going to leave before Augie says it.
That's really going to be telling for my game. But anyways.
I'm gonna have to tune in for that later.
Right on.
Hope y'all have a good night.
This is a good episode. You should definitely check it out.
I'm going to check it out. I'm going to leave a comment. Okay, bye.
I'll check it out because I'm in it.
Good night, Brooke. And talk board games later.
Ooh, sounds good, bud. Later, y'all.
Laters. Next game is OTXO, developed by Lateralis Heavy Industries, published by Super Rare Originals, released April 20th on Steam for $14.99. Enter an inexplicable abstract mansion to rescue a loved one in this fast-paced, brutal, and dark roguelite filled with precise but brutal gunplay and time-bending slow motion. Face your inner demons and unveil the secrets of the mansion. Dave, tell us about your time with OTXO.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Hey, sorry. I was late. I was late coming off mute. My cat dredged up a monstrous hairball while the other game was being reviewed.
Nice.
So dude, it is burly. Dude, this is bad.
Does it have legs?
It looks like someone tried to make a tampon out of barber hair and didn't stick the landing.
Ouch.
It is beastly. In a way, I'm impressed. Although, really, Kat, did you have to do this here, now, today, in my home, where I lay my sweet head? Trying to be a fucking professional here. Review a video game that people worked very hard on. I might be dying. I hope you're proud of yourself. I'm still tired of the cat. I hope you're okay.
Wow.
Anyway,
You, sir, are talented. Just going to point that out. You are fucking talented. And I'm done.
Thank you. That's very kind. Oh, right.
So,
right.
Ocho, yeah.
So we move on from a gentle, silly game about polyamory among root vegetables to this fucked up game about violence and betrayal and death. Awesome. Good.
We're jumping all over the place tonight.
That's quite the whiplash for sure.
Wait till you're next on.
Oh hell yeah! So I watched a couple of different reviews of Ocho just to sort of figure out how to talk about it, if that makes any sense. And one thing that came up a lot is reviewers would always say something like, "Let's address the elephant in the room." This game is a lot like Hotline Miami, which I feel. Yeah, while it is, graphically, it's a top-down, very pixelated, very violent game. There's lots of blood. There's lots of stylized violence. It has a banging soundtrack. There's a lot of rump shakers in the Ocho soundtrack for sure. And the control scheme, the controls, I should say, are very similar to Hotline. But I do feel like that is, like, I get the comparison, but it's a little reductive. But all that is to say, let's address the elephant in the room. This game is a lot like Hotline Miami. So if you liked Hotline Miami, you're probably going to love Ocho because it is a lot of fun. I'm going to file this under the video games that I enjoy but suck at and cannot get very far in. So that will color my review somewhat. So the premise here is that the game opens with a cutscene of you, the player character, and your girlfriend, wife, partner, I'll say, sitting on a subway train, and someone gets off the train and drops a mask on the ground, and you put it on, and then the screen goes white, and then you wake up face down on a beach in front of a weird mansion, where you were told by the groundskeeper that your girlfriend, wife, partner has been kidnapped, and you have to go into the mansion to get her. And so you basically go like room, but there's like 100 rooms or something ridiculous. It's a big game.
Oh wow!
I mean, I can only assume I didn't get anywhere close to that. You know, I've played Castlevania, but I never fucking saw Dracula. To give you where I'm coming from with that. So yeah, you go basically room to room, and similar to Hotline Miami. Here, you encounter rooms full of enemies, and you kill them all. This game, Ocho, is primarily based around guns. There's a lot of different ones. You get to actually pick the guns that both you and the enemy characters have throughout the game, which I thought was a pretty cool idea. I would recommend using the controller to play this game rather than the keyboard and mouse control situation, because I did that one first, and it's a pain in the ass.
I can't do mouse and keyboard controls in most games.
I just suck at it. Like to kick open a door, you press down the mouse scroll wheel, and to drop your gun, you right click. And guess how many times I fucked up those two things? I kicked a lot of people to death in Ocho. I will say the game, though, it is in black and white, with the exception of blood, which is its normal red color, which gives a lot of the environments in particular a nice depth. I think it looks pretty cool. It gives it sort of this weird film noir quality. You mentioned the slowing down time mechanic, and there is one. On the keyboard, it's the shift key. So basically, there's a way to slow down time, sort of like I compare it very loosely to the bullet time in Max Payne, kind of. And it slows down time, and it gives you a chance to like dodge enemy attacks or roll in between individual bullets getting fired at you, which is pretty cool when you pull it off. I didn't do that successfully very much. But if you're good at it, it probably looks awesome. But that is a nice. It's helpful because when you do go into rooms where there are like a lot of guys with guns trying to kill you, and it does get a bit hectic. So you can use the slowing down time mechanic to like not only do cool evasive action, but just as a way to like strategize, so you don't just get like your head blown off the second you enter a room, and then you have to start all over from the beginning. So I thought that was an interesting thought that actually works out pretty well for gameplay. And it was certainly appreciated by myself because, as I mentioned before, not great at video games, especially this kind. So literally any help they could have given me would have been.
Is there anything in the way of like difficulty selections or accessibility options, anything like that?
Difficulty options, I didn't notice any. It's much like Hotline Miami in that respect, which I hate to keep coming back to that, but man, they do play very similarly. Accessibility stuff, I'd have to dig back into the controls to nothing like leaped out at me. Right. As far as accessibility stuff, like, do you mean anything specific by that?
I know like some games have like invulnerability options or infinite ammo options, stuff like that.
Oh my God, dude, I fucking wish. Jesus. Oh God, this would have been a much different review if they just let me cheat my way through the game. Holy shit.
I mean, you said you can choose both the guns you start with and the ones the enemies start with. Does not help at all? Can you like give them like single shot derringers and you like a giant minigun?
No. So the selection of guns that you pick applies to both you in terms of guns you find and can pick up, and the guns that the enemies are carrying.
Mm.
Oh.
So you cannot rig it in your favor in that way, which is really unfortunate. So yeah, this game it's difficult. It's cool. It's weird. There are also there occasionally, like every so often, when you clear a bunch of rooms, you will enter a room that is a bar, and the bartender will serve you drinks that give you like ability upgrades or advantages or little perks that make the game either make you more powerful, make your enemies less powerful, or like, they give you more money when you kill people and stuff. So I thought that was kind of a neat idea. It sort of reminded me of the bar from The Shining, except there's less emphasis on killing your family. So, but the principle's essentially the same in every other. So it's been described in other reviews as a roguelite, which I guess kind of makes sense. There are boss fights in the game too, and those verge on like bullet hell territory.
Ooh.
There are certain levels where there's just a lot of enemies, and it gets pretty hectic. So it's not like full on like hyperactive bullet hell gameplay, but it's like closer to that than I'm used to. Especially when I keep mixing up the kick and throw your gun button. That made certain parts of this game very inconvenient.
Oh man, well the game is it's sitting at $15. What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, it's worth $15. Yeah. You can get especially if you're someone who's like good at video games, then yeah, absolutely pick this up for $15. Yeah, I don't think that's an unfair price. I mean, I'm generally someone who waits for sales pretty much for anything, with like a couple of notable exceptions. But I would say that you'd get $15 worth of enjoyment out of this.
Nice.
It's fun. And just again, like the comparisons to Hotline Miami are legion, but in terms of like theme and atmosphere, and linearity, this is one of the more linear games I've played in quite a long time. Honestly, it is. There's not a lot of lateral motion in the plot. You are just barreling straight through. So in those respects, it is very different and very much its own game. And I appreciate that kind of ambition.
Yeah. Hopefully, it shows up on more platforms in the future. It's only on Steam right now. I would love to see it hit console too. So fingers crossed on that.
Yeah. Also, dear God, play it with a controller if at all possible. That will enhance your gameplay experience like 100-fold.
Nice. All right. Well, Dave, that is it for you. We will let you get going. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting about OTXO with us.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. Because I'm old and tired, I'm going to go to bed.
Makes sense. Hey, it's 11 o'clock. I'm ready to crash too, but I got to talk more games.
Yeah. You gotta power through. For the people. You gotta do it for the stream.
Nighty night.
Do it. But tomorrow will be bonbons. So
sweet, and I'll be there live actually because
I know. So jealous.
AEW Dynamite broadcast is in Baltimore, where I live.
That is awesome.
So I will be hooting and or hollering in person.
Will you have a sign?
No. Because I don't want to block the view of people behind me. I'm never close enough to where any camera would ever pick up the sign I have.
If it's a good sign, the cameras will find you, though.
Also, I'm lazy. Let's just call it for what it is. Cannot get it together in enough time to write a sign that is both funny and legible.
That's why you put like a well-drawn O and then like a kind of drawn C below it, and then like pencil out the rest of Orange Cassidy and just like call it. So
what I really want is one of those signs that's like the cartoon of Taz from Botcha.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah, I wish they would sell those. I'd buy one.
Oh man. All right. Well, we will let you get going.
Very good.
And we'll catch you. I'm sure we'll catch you again sometime. So
I'll be back on at some point.
Cool beans. Have a good one.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Night.
All right, moving on. Next game is Mugen Souls, developed by Idea Factory, Compile Heart, and Cocone Corporation. Published by eastasiasoft, released April 27th on the Switch for $39.99. Join Chow Chow on her mission to conquer the universe and its 7 worlds in this anime-style JRPG. You'll take command of trusty companions, loyal peons, and Chow Chow turns heroes into demon lords of each world into her personal servants, and thus frees the universe of conflict under her ultimate control. But will it all go as planned? Chris, does it go as planned, or does the plan go awry?
So far it's actually going pretty well. Okay, so there's a lot to explain in this game, so I'm going to try and keep it as terse as I can. I'm going to activate my terse personality, and okay, that's a
Your
reference. I'm getting ahead of
personality?
myself. Yeah, so okay, this game, which I actually thought was pronounced Mugen, but I guess Mugen makes more sense. Maybe
I don't know.
Mugen? I don't know.
It's
It's a word I see around. I don't know what it means or anything. But it's fine. Okay, so Mugen Souls.
Mutagen.
Yeah, Mutagen Souls is
Teenage Mutagen Ninja Souls.
Yes, exactly. Pre-teenager, actually, if you want to get into it. So this is a game that revolves around a god, the undisputed god named Choo Choo, and she is a small girl. She wakes up in the middle of the universe, befriends a reincarnated angel who wants to be a demon. Her name is Altis. She is, you might as well just call her Underboob, because that is her main thing. These two partners they partnered up, and she stole a airship, which is actually a spaceship, but it looks like an airship with like a town built on top of it, from a boy who called Ryuto. And the thing about Choo Choo is that her special power is that she can make people become her her servants through just sheer magical powers of charm. There's different ways that you actually kind of learn throughout the game, but Ryuto just falls in love with her immediately, so she didn't need to use any kind of special powers on him, really. He just kind of went willingly with it. And so she has this spaceship, and while floating around in space, she decided she saw 7 planets, and she was like, these planets are pretty, I just want to own them now. So your job is to go to each planet and take it over. You take it over by subjugating the hero and the demon lord of each planet, who are conveniently located in, interconnected continents that you travel to, which are basically stages. So we got 7 worlds with 3 stages each. That's kind of, but we'll get into that. So yeah, that's basically what you do. Now, the thing about this game is that it is endless systems upon systems upon systems. I have been playing this game for hours now. I have yet to escape the tutorials.
Oh, jeez.
I have not seen this many tutorials since Ni no Kuni, and Ni no Kuni was like a joke with the tutorials. Like, there's a tutorial for the final boss, if you didn't know.
Really?
Yeah. Well, kind of, but I don't want to spoil it. So the main thrust of it is that it is a compile hard idea factory game. So it's largely running around a stage, and then when you run into an enemy, you go to a separate battle screen where you run around a 3D space, get an enemy inside of your circle of movement that your character can do, and then use a special move on them in order to defeat them. However, were it only so uncomplicated, so basically there's a couple different things you can do. So you can just straight up defeat the enemies. That's fine. You'll gain levels. You'll gain peons, which are basically this turning monsters into servants, right? By defeating them. And by the way, this has there's a rhyme and reason for it, because peons make your ship stronger because they go to your ship, right? Your ship actually does battles kind of like Skies of Arcadia or Rocket Slime Adventures against other ships.
Oh, man, I miss those games.
Yeah, it's not quite as good as those, though. Don't get your hopes up too much. But it is like that. It's, going to these planets. In between those planets, you usually have to fight another ship. And then, that's a thing that we'll talk about in a minute. So peons, it behooves you to gather as many peons as you can. And the way you do that is not by defeating them, not by killing them, but by moe killing them. Because that's the kind of character your little girl is. So what you do is you go into this elaborate system of charming a crystal that is in the center of the battlefield by choosing one of, I think it's 7, it might be even more. No, it's 7, because the number 7 keeps coming up in this game. You choose one of 7 personalities for Shushu, which changes her appearance. You've got everything from a sadist to a ditz to a hyper girl to, her normal self, which is ego, because she's very, very egotistical, very arrogant, and very confident. And you find the one that matches best with the crystal, and then you engage in a kind of battle of words where you use, you piece together 3 different things that 3 different kind of attitudes that you're going to exhibit. So it'll be like smile, and then like bipolar. Bipolar is literally like an option. And then like, hit or abuse or something like that. You link them together, and then she comes up with this kind of sentence that, kind of takes those words and multiplies it by her personality. There's like a little cutscene that happens like anime style. And then you see if that works on the crystal. If it does, if the crystal's like gauge goes all the way up, then it will charm all the enemies in the fight. And then you will get a ton of peons instead of just a few from straight up killing them. It's optional, but very useful. So that's one of the systems. There's literally 4 or 5 more systems that kind of bounce off that. We won't get into them. Let's just say they're all kind of the same deal of like combining like things, kind of doing a lot of guesswork, sort of doing a rock, paper, scissors type thing. There's a whole lot of that. And then, just kind of using your skills and your charms to subjugate enemies as you go. Okay, so that's basically battle.
We got to give a quick thanks to the store page that says that you can create unique characters by customizing body parts, faces, and job classes.
You can. I made a few of them, and what I really like about them is that you can randomly generate their name if you're not feeling particularly imaginative that day. And one of the first names that it came up for me for it was a gunslinger type of character, and the game chose Sewing Machine as their name, and I loved that. I was like, that's a great name.
Sewing Machine.
Sewing Machine. So I do have a gunslinger named Sewing Machine. And yeah, you get to choose their appearance and all this other stuff. Honestly, you don't need to do that, at least not at the beginning of the game. So it's such a it's just another thing they piled onto this game. Compile Heart did. They compiled on. Anyway,
had a lot of ideas in that factory, huh?
Yeah, this is a factory of ideas in this one. So, so that's basically the gist. Is you run around, you fight enemies. Eventually, like I said, you go through long story moments that are kind of done visual novel style, like all Idea Factory games. Your characters are animated and fully voice acted, which is very nice. This game is originally from 2012 on the PlayStation 3. So even though I assume that they cleaned it up a little bit to make it a little bit more HD, but it does still retain that kind of PS3 look, which is fine because all Idea Factory games do. But that means that it retains the English voice acting from the original release, which is great because it's actually quality voice acting. I really like it. Characters move their mouths with the words. That's kind of cool. Can't ask for much more. And anyway, like I said, when you're going through the stages and going through the story, you eventually befriend and or charm or do something else with other characters that you then bring into your party, and they're now part of the story. One of my favorites is a generic RPG hero, male protagonist named Soul, and he is hilarious. For one, his character model, he looks like an anime JRPG like hero, right? He has two of the largest belts I've ever seen hanging on his hips without holding up his pants, which is a very clear reference. But this game is rife with references, and Soul's personality is entirely just being inappropriate because he's a hero. Dressing up his female companion in bikinis all the time, and going into people's houses and stealing stuff without asking. He does it all, and he's hilariously stoic and very full of himself in that sense. It's actually pretty effective comedy. I really like his character for sure. So you gain other characters. You can do that kind of stuff too. So. Speaking of 2012, so this game was kind of known in Japan, or not Japan, I'm sorry, in its PlayStation 3 original release for having content that was cut. Why? Well, I don't know. Sony might have been a little more prudish back then, but there's straight up a whole ass mini game, and there are a few mini games in this game, but one of them is very notorious, and it was taken out of the PlayStation 3 release. It is fully restored in this release. And it's almost the After Dark portion of the game, but it is essentially bathing your girls. So
should I play the sound effect?
If you want.
George, take it away.
SML After Dark.
Yeah, After Dark. Chris, tell us about it.
Okay. So there's a mini game wherein after you defeat the first world, then the hot springs in your airship get repaired. Right, they suffer damage, which is why you can't do this straight away in the game. In it, you can basically purchase a soap and a shampoo and bathe one of the characters, all the female characters, of course. Basically to get a temporary boost in stats, right? A percentage boost for the next time you go out. So it's kind of improving your loadout for the next mission. And it's a posed scene where the girl is covered in soap, and you just, with the stick and the A button, or probably the touchscreen, I didn't even try it with the touchscreen, believe it or not, you actually run a sponge over them until you run out of sponges. And parts jiggle and and stretch in accordance to your movements.
Jiggle.
Yeah, there's some jiggling. and very inappropriate, but also very funny. Also, because this is restored content from the that wasn't in the original US release, the girls suddenly speak Japanese because they didn't rehire the voice actors just to make them do bath like content. So it's a little awkward in that sense, but it's a little bit reminiscent of Seven Pirates H, which actually shares a lot of similarities with this game, even though I don't think the two are actually connected. But it's a lot tamer, and there's no nudity. The game's rated for partial nudity, I think, because one character kind of shows a little bit of her butt a little bit as one of her like dialogue poses. Like, that's literally it. It's a very tame thing, but it's almost more perverted that you don't actually see anything. Anyways, so yeah, that's the After Dark portion of it. The other thing that this game retains from its original release is literally all of the DLC, which, man, Idea Factory really wanted your money back then, because there's like hundreds of things you can unlock in this game. There's packs of like all kinds of costumes, items. It's a lot like the Fairy Fencer F Advent Dark Force release on the Switch. It's just all this stuff you can just like throw in. It actually took me like, I think it was about half an hour just to go through like the beginning of the game where it's like, this is enabled, this is enabled, this is enabled, and it's because I did it just for the review to be like, okay, what kind of crap is this? And by the way, don't do it if you're planning on actually enjoying this game, because it's end game stuff. It will break the game. You're just gonna like not ever see a challenge until you get to the parts where you're not fighting enemies, and that is to say when your ship is fighting. So this will be kind of the last part. So like I said, with these ships, the enemy ship comes at you with usually a rival character or something like that. And you essentially choose from a menu different things that you can do, and it's very rock, paper, scissors. So it's like, you can do an attack, you can do like a special attack, which can be absorbed if the enemy chooses to absorb, but you can do a piercing attack, which isn't as, good, but it will go through an absorbing shield and things like that, and your enemy is going to do the same. So it's choosing the right options based on really vague clues from usually Ryuto, because he's your pilot, because he's got the goggles on his head. And it's pretty cool. It's actually pretty challenging. I definitely won the second one by the skin of my teeth. Like, I think it was 60 HP out of 7,000.
Oh, geez.
But you can, of course, give yourself the best shot of winning these things by collecting a lot of peons and, like, kind of building up your ship. But yeah, even if you start the game off with the god weapons, then it's not going to save you if you can't, really guess the ship thing. And really, that's what it comes down to in this game, is that it's pretty good gameplay with a lot of systems that require just straight up guessing. Which is, good or bad, just depending on how you like your game. It also has a ton of like cutscenes. It has a ton of attack animations that can get pretty long because they're like these long comedic like things. If you think about like Final Fantasy VIII, how many times you saw all those dang summons, the GF summons in your first playthrough, that's a little bit like how this game is with just standard attacks when you're combining your character attacks and stuff. It's like it's got a different animation for each one. They're unskippable, although you can toggle them off entirely, and therefore you'll never see them. So it's kind of like, which one do you want to do? Game's nice and challenging, like I said, unless you equip the DLC stuff. It's pretty fun. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's sitting at $40. What are your thoughts?
I'd say there's definitely enough content here for a $40 game, especially good if you checked out the original PS3 release and, you want to see like the scenes that were taken out of that one, if you know what I mean. And, ultimately, though, I mean, it is an older Compile Hard Idea Factory game. They've definitely refined some of the ideas that are present here into other games. It's very manic in that it like I said, it throws a zillion things at you, but they're not bad ideas. It's just they're kind of better implemented elsewhere. So this is kind of the thing that you get when you're like, I'm not quite wacky enough for, Neptunia, but... actually, no, it's about on the level of Neptunia. I shouldn't say that. it's definitely over the top. So if you're like into the over the top thing, but maybe Seven Pirates H is a little too embarrassing for you, I think maybe this is your game. But either way, that's the typical going price of a full size Idea Factory game. So I mean, for that, I'm gonna say it's a buy it.
Cool.
All
right, next up is Dungeon Drafters, developed by Manalith Studios, published by DANGEN Entertainment, released April 27th on Steam for $24.99. Dungeon Drafters is a mystery dungeon adventure set in a world where magic is cards and cards are magic. Explore ancient ruins, loot rare cards, and employ clever combos to defeat your foes and build the legendary spell deck that could save the world. It's card building, so Pernell's involved. Pernell, how's Dungeon Drafters?
This game was a major surprise to me when it came across the Steam page, and I obviously wanted to play it because as a person who's notoriously bad at building decks of cards, I do enjoy utilizing them, whether they're the default or whatever crackpot amalgamation I put together. So also the idea that they were combining the idea of the roguelike dungeon crawler with card battling, because I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but frankly, I don't recall what it is. So to me, this is new. This is a new concept. So the idea behind this, at the very beginning of the game, you can choose between one of 8 different classes. Now, off the cuff, and I kind of wish I realized this earlier on, but the class that you choose mainly determines what your starting deck is going to be and what your runes are going to be. And I'll mention what runes are later. But throughout the course of the game, you can do enough to kind of mix and match and get to the other deck types that the other characters had if you truly wanted them. But I went with the mage character early on because it just seemed that's the character that's in all the art. So I was like, well, that must be the beginning character. I suck at building decks. Let's go. So the game immediately throws you on a deserted beach after a shipwreck where you were in the middle of sailing towards an island with a tower on it. At this point, you are tasked with exploring. The game kind of throws you in head first and expects you to figure it out. Though it does give you some tidbits on like explaining the game mechanics and how things work. And what kind of mechanics does this game have? Well, like I mentioned earlier, roguelike in the traditional sense of roguelike games, in that your character moves square by square on a checkered board grid. And enemies do the same as well. And you move based off of action points. You start out with 3, but you can, of course, over time, you can do things that potentially balance that out and get more, such as using cards or, improving your character. But as you move, you use up an action point. The other things you can do with your action points, however, is if you're next to an enemy and you move towards them or an object, you will melee strike it, which is an action point. And the melee attacks are fine and dandy if you need to break something to get out your way, but you do not want to be doing that as your primary offensive, which leads me to the last thing you can do with action points, which is to cast cards from your hand. That is going to be your primary method of engaging with the board. And this game gives you quite a few different spell cards that you can play around with, or of typings to have fun with. For example, you might have a spell card that allows you to turn an object on the board into a summonable monster that will fight for you. You might find a card that allows you to summon a buzzsaw onto the board that, when struck, will spin around and damage everything next to it. Tidal wave cards, dummy cards, all sorts of weird effect cards that you can utilize. And the cool thing about the cards in this game is that unless it has a weird effect that might require you to eat a card or something like that, there's no MP system, or some cards cost more AP than others. It's pretty much you draw the card, you use the card, which is convenient because the monsters in this game don't screw around either. So, good luck with that mess. Now, the aforementioned runes thing that I mentioned earlier, runes are pretty much the game's way of kind of locking you into a specific type of deck build, because you have a certain number of rune slots which can be increased throughout the course of the game, but the runes that you equip determine what magic card types you can equip. So, for example, there are fire cards. Fire cards will require at least 1 fire rune, though some might require 2 or 3 or even 4 fire runes to activate or to put into your deck, which means if you want to use certain cards, you may find yourself having to specialize the runes you choose, which will then in turn narrow down what you can use across the deck malicum. So if you're terrible at choosing cards, as opposed to just wanting to load your deck with everything, like me, the game that's a good way of the game to kind of limit you and help you kind of focus on what you're going to use. Another way the game kind of helps you with trying to learn and get better with different builds as you play the game is there's eventually a hub town that you get access to. Very quickly, mind you, because you're going to die in that first beach dungeon, because by design you're meant to get killed and spawn back at the hub. But as you're walking around the town, you'll come across a number of NPCs, and some of those NPCs are representatives of certain play styles. They give a cool name like the Hunter or the Oracle or the whatever, but the point is they represent different types of play. So there might be one character. Cool? Biddies.
Nope, a sub. Raider Biz dropping a sub for the 13th month. Thank you so much. Always good seeing you here hanging out.
Card.
The sub card, yeah. Fucking yeah. Give us a live one, Pernell. Give us a live fucking yeah.
I already did. I saw you. Thanks for casting the sub card. Appreciate it. Loudly.
Anyway, Dungeon Drafters.
So, like I said, I was saying before, so you have these characters who represent like archetypes that kind of gear you towards getting better with using certain types of cards. So, for example, there might be one character class that will say, hey, the way to be a specialist in my card skills type is to not attack enemies directly. So then they'll give you a quest that says to clear a battle without directly injuring any monsters, which is hard as hell to do unless you have a deck specially tailored towards it or you get really lucky. But then there's other things like that too, like get five actions in a row, which is meant to entice you to get cards that will boost your AP so you can do multiple things in one turn, and so on and so forth. And the way that it was happening is once you're in that hub town, you start taking quests from individuals in the town and such. You are then tasked with ultimately going back to the dungeons and exploring them further to get more loot and fight more monsters. Now, the game does a cool thing where it doesn't gate you from dungeons until you beat other dungeons. When you go to the dungeon select, you can go to pretty much whatever dungeon you want. And those dungeons generally determine what types of monsters you're going to fight there, which determines what types of cards you might want to use there. Not necessarily just in like an elemental structure or anything like that, but more so like there might be a dungeon that has like a lot of different traps, which means you might want to have a lot of dispel cards in your deck to deal with trap damages and stuff like that. Or you might have a area that has like a lot of like area control, like area damage or something, where you might have cards that can manage that or mitigate that, or just battle heavy cards. You'll figure it out when you get there, and that's kind of part of the fun of it. It has a number of mechanics that's designed to kind of make you go, okay, I can't just rest my laurels on this one super deck. I have to tailor this thing and build it out and do more with it. And as far as how to get more cards, well, the most obvious way, finding them on the ground. As you're exploring dungeons and you kill certain monsters or you break certain objects, you'll just find packs of cards lying on the ground or in treasure chests or whatever. And when you find them, like booster packs, you rip the pack open and you get cards. And then you take those cards and you equip them as you see fit. Build decks out, save them up, whatever. Do what you need to do. And you go with it again and you experiment further. There are events in certain dungeons, like there might be a puzzle you have to solve. Depending on the dungeon, usually they're themed around the dungeon that you're in. But for the most part, you might find the occasional puzzle room or whatnot. There are bosses in this game as well. They will wreck your face, especially when you first learn that enemies can have lives, in which case you think you burned out a bunch of cards thinking, oh, I'm going to kill this guy real quick. And it's like, wait a minute, I just took all of his health. Why is he still here? Oh, he had lives. That's bullshit. But, hey, I'd have been happy if they just said 30 hit points and not 10 over 10 times 3, but well, I digress. The game itself is a lot of fun. Even with there's also I didn't even mention there's like random mini games in town, like weird like a slime hopping game and a fishing mini game. But the game itself is surprisingly engaging and a lot of fun. The music is good, the sprite art is good. One thing I hope they updated over time, though, is I noticed they're working on the Steam Deck. As you might recall, Joe, back when the code first came, I couldn't even get it to install on the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
But now it is playing on there. But I did play it on PC prior to this because at the time I thought I was going to have to. But on PC, it's perfect. Like I've had it has decent controls. You just scroll up to click on things and you get the information on the monsters, if they're what types of monster they are, what have you. But on the Steam Deck utilization, they have button mapping and stuff down, but there are certain mechanisms that I haven't found equivalent ways to access, such as looking at the monster's traits, because I can't figure out how to do that with buttons in this thing yet. And there are certain things where the game doesn't even tell you what button does it, and you try to access it. So there are a few things they can still work on, but for the most part, I play it on the Steam Deck still because it works well enough that I'm comfortable with it. I have a PC I can run it, and I just want to play on the damn Steam Deck. Just how it is, man. Just how it is. But
I like how the official response from PR is it's not verified for Steam Deck. Please play it on PC. You're like, fuck that. I'm playing on Steam Deck.
I'm playing on Steam Deck. In my defense, though, I did clarify on PC. It works like a charm.
Yeah.
So I gave them their bump, but for those, because there's no brainer that people are going to go behind
stubborn motherfuckers who want to stick with Steam Deck.
It's not even about stubborn. Let's be honest here. With the Steam Deck being out in play, you won't really name a PC or Steam game at this point where someone's not going to go, how's it on the Steam Deck? And fortunately for those people, I play almost exclusively on it if I can help it. So I'll be the person that tells you. And that answer is for this game is it works. But I do hope that they do have a few more patches in mind and maybe like add a little descriptions here and there, or to just say, by the way, this we finally found a way for you to kind of utilize a scroll up by pressing a button. You can utilize the mouse for the purpose of scrolling up and looking at stuff. But all in all, though, I think this game is a lot of fun. You will be spending, if you're not good at deck builders, you'll be spending a lot of freaking time on this. And if you are good at deck builders, you still might be spending a lot of time because there's a lot to do. There's a lot of cards. There's a lot of customization options here. And quite frankly, it's just a joy to play. I think this is one of those surprise hits that I hope more people gain access to and utilize. And I'm going to speculate that's going to come to consoles at some point also because of the button mapping and the likes that they put on here. So
I'll find out. But it's sitting at $24.99. What is your official verdict?
I think it's easily worth the coin. This is a good game.
Cool. All right, next up is Secret Agent Cold War Espionage, developed and published by Kungfu Takeaway, released April 18th on Xbox One, Series X and S for $9.99. Get ready for a wild ride, spy lovers. As a top secret agent, you'll embark on thrilling mini missions to stop an evil mastermind's plan for global domination. With 7 pulse-pounding missions to complete, you'll jet set to exotic locations all over the globe, from luxurious hotels to swanky casinos, all while hot on the trail of the infamous Royale Diamond Aki. What is going on in Secret Agent Cold War Espionage?
Okay, in this, you play a secret agent number 49 for reasons, I don't know. And you're here to stop some bad guys. And you basically just operate off of intel that someone else gets, and that just starts the mission. You're not really informed what that intel is or anything.
Hey, what's the square root of 49?
7?
Like 007.
Oh, he's not that good. And basically, you go around, walking around, and you pull out your gun and you shoot out lights if you want, and cameras if you see them, because there's an achievement tied to shooting out all the cameras. So just shoot them out. It makes your life easier. And you just sneak up behind people and knock them out, or I guess you can shoot them in the face too. That works just as effectively. And yeah, you go around, you pick up briefcases when you can find them, you scan CIA agents who you're not allowed to kill, even though they're really fucking annoying and always around, and there's a ton of them, and you have to scan all of them for another achievement. And yeah, you complete each little mission. Every one of them's different. Some of them are like, oh, you need to destroy this item. Oh, you need to find these people and listen to them. Oh, you have to defuse a bomb here. And all the missions are pretty short. I think the longest one was like maybe 10 minutes or so.
Not bad. So
yeah.
This is more like level based than like Hitman, where it's like open world going through.
Yeah, very much so. Every level is a very, very, very small open world, kind of like Agent 47 and the Hitman ones, except for significantly smaller.
Yeah, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah, you have in Hitman you might have like 4 blocks worth of stuff you can go around. This one you have about 1 or 2, and that's about it. And you can't get into all the places, sadly, or else they'd probably make it too easy to just shoot people. But yeah, it's a very simple game. I didn't actually really pay attention to the story because it was just like, oh, you got this item, and that was the bit of story for that level. Go grab this and don't get caught. The end. So it's like I didn't fully grasp that there was a story until I was much further in the game, and I was like, oh, because everything adds up to a whole piece later on. So don't be shocked if you play each level and you're like, what the fuck does any of this have to do with anything? It all comes together in the end. Ish. Kind of. Most of this game is really about doing all the side stuff that you need to do, like shooting out the cameras, picking up all the briefcase, picking up the hidden briefcase, scanning all of the CIA agents. That's where a lot of your time is going to be spent in this game. And it's not particularly hard to do so, because you can pull out your binoculars at any point, and if you just run them past an agent, you'll see them. And cameras are very obvious when you see them, and they're very easy to shoot. The only real issue I have in this game because it being short and sweet and the story being kind of it doesn't really matter that much to me. It was an enjoyable game. The only real issue I had was that you can't change the sensitivity to anything. So when you aim your gun or get in your binoculars, the bitch goes crazy. Yeah, it has like since where most games allow you to go from like 1 to 10, it starts at an 11 and there's no real changing it. And it's such a fucking pain in the ass. I really hope that they add that to it, because oh my god, it's such a pain in the ass. Thankfully, most things aren't too far away, so you don't have to like be pinpoint like snipery. You know, oh, I can only move it this quarter of an inch. No, you don't need that. If you just skim past somebody, you'll see them, and all the cameras you can pretty much walk right up to and shoot. So it's all good. Just don't get caught by them. You're fine.
Well, the game is sitting at $10. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm gonna have to say wait for a sale, because again, it's so short, and if you're really bad with high sensitivity, this game isn't going to be easy to play. So I have to say wait for a sale for now. But I think it's an okay game. It's a nice way to spend an hour of your time.
What about if they fix the sensitivity?
If they fix the sensitivity, yeah, $10 will be worth it, yeah.
Cool. All right, one last game to talk about tonight is Mr. Sun's Hatbox, developed by Kenny Sun, published by Raw Fury, released April 20th on Steam for $14.99. Mr. Sun's Hatbox is a slapstick roguelite platformer about getting the job done at all costs. Upgrade your HQ, your team, your tools, so you can take on increasingly dangerous and ridiculous missions wearing hats with amazing or questionable potential. Pernell, what is going on in Mr. Sun's Hatbox?
So Mr. Sun's Hatbox is designed by the guy who made my surprise hit of, I want to say it was early 2022, called Circuit Infinity. So learning about that, knowing that there was a connection, I had to try this game. And the guy is currently 2 for 2 with me, so this is fantastic. Because Mr. Sun's Hatbox is goofy fun that is light but also challenging in its own right. The idea behind this game is you are delivering a Hatbox to Mr. Sun, but some jerkbags show up and steal the Hatbox before you can make your delivery. So for whatever reason, because this is a weird game, you decide that it's time to set up a military style base or a secret agent base beneath Mr. Sun's, his house or his business, and start to conduct covert operations on the culprit's hideout and beyond to recover the stolen goods. It's ridiculous as it sounds. Early on in the game, you have a hub, basically just like the mission briefing room. But as you progress through the game, you'll earn money and stuff to expand on this base to gain yourself more facilities. But from the offset, you're able to choose missions. These missions vary in objectives. And the objectives can be one of two things typically. Infiltrate and kill an operative, or infiltrate and kidnap an operative. Once this happens, before you go into the mission proper, you have to outfit one of your people, though, to go and take it on. You can give them a hat if you have one. Hats come in a variety of shapes and sizes and types. Something as simple as a propeller hat. Think of like Super Mario Brothers Wii, where you can use the propeller hat to fly upwards, to things like a poop hat, or a colander pot, or a book hat, or a turd hat. There's a lot of really goofy hats in this game, and it's fun to mess around with them when you find them to pretty much equip them and see how they help you on a mission. You can equip a weapon.
How does the poop hat help?
Enemies slip on the poop, and it also makes you stink, so enemies can smell you while you're on missions, and they'll come after you, so it's dangerous. You don't want enemies to smell you when you stink, because they'll find you when you're trying to sneak around the base.
So that one doesn't help you, okay.
It can. I mean, it's a weird game. Like, some of the hats have, like, weird bubble effects, which is funny that you mentioned that, because in addition to the hats having positive and sometimes negative effects, so do the operatives, because these are not perfect people, folks. These are flawed individuals. So you get a character. They generally start at level 1, and they come with a number of traits. Anything ranging from something, for example, like when you snap an enemy's neck, you get squeamish and pass out for a second, to I'm unable to hold a gun properly, so when I fire the shot, I miss and drop the gun. To other cool things like, I think but this isn't a good one, where you're a featherweight, so if you try to stomp an enemy, you don't have enough weight to knock them out. So, problematic. And of course, my least favorite, the kleptomaniac. He steals all the money he finds on the mission, so you don't get to collect it. But there are other cool traits that you can use that are actually not negative. They're positive. But early on, and for the most part, you're going to get people to have some flaws and some positive traits to them. And you have to choose the one that you can most deal with for the mission itself. When you're on the mission, you're evading traps, you're evading alarms, you're evading other enemies that are running around the base trying to guard their target. And it's fun because you can pretty much run up on them, you can sneak up behind them and snap their neck or knock them unconscious. And if you knock them unconscious, you enter the mission with a number of balloons. And you can use balloons to kidnap people and send them back to your base. You can also steal items by using the balloons, or weapons with the balloons if you come across them. But when you kidnap an enemy and they end up back at your base, they go to the brig and they're your prisoners. But through the magic of upgrading your base over time, which by taking resources you can get from the missions and spending it at the base, you can build add-on facilities for your base, like a black market or lab, which you can use to learn new abilities and research technologies, and most of all, brainwash technology. So you can brainwash your enemies and make them join your team over a certain period of in-game days. So you'll be having fun with that, kidnapping people and brainwashing them. And if you get a character through a mission entirely, they will gain experience points and level up. And through leveling up, they'll get more hit points. They will learn new traits, and sometimes they'll even forget the bad traits they originally had. So there's a certain dance to knowing who to use, when not to use them, how long to use them, because if they start taking damage, they don't heal after the mission. They stay injured, and the only way to heal them up is to send them to the sick bay and spend money and time waiting for them to recover. So there's a fine balance between getting enough people into your base so you can have a roster of folks you can send on missions, but also a roster of folks you can set up in the base at different facilities to upgrade things to perform functions for your facilities. You can grind somewhat in this game, though, because even though there are story missions which will progress the plot, there's also side missions you can take on, specifically with the intent being to get loot, new people, gear that you can store at the base if you steal it from during the mission or whatnot, because everything breaks over time. So nothing's permanent in this game. So you can do that too, but there's a weird running risk involved, because let's say, for example, you do tell yourself, well, I'm going to just keep grinding and grinding, but I also suck at the game. Well, if you keep losing people on missions, or they take too much damage on missions, so much so that they're loaded up in the sick bag, which you might not be able to eventually afford because you spent all your money, there is a point where you could totally run out of resources and people, which I guess makes it the Mr. Sun's roguelike Hatbox, because you can screw up. But I do feel like you can get to the point where you play well enough to say, I can balance this out a little bit. I'm not going to go completely broke, but you also can't just go willy-nilly on the idea that people can take damage and I'll just put them in the sick bay, because it does eat into your cash. So be careful of that. But the funny thing about this game, though, is that it is fairly straightforward. Even though I might sound like I said there's a whole lot going on here, there's really not. You choose a location, you choose a person, or let me rephrase it. You choose a mission, you choose a person and load him out. He goes, you hop and bop and succeed or fail, wash, rinse, repeat, do it again. It's a very simple loop, and yet somehow it's a fun loop. It's a quality loop, and the missions are so short that a thing I forgot to mention about dungeon drafters being that I wish there was like a sort of like a sleep mode or stop mode while running in an actual dungeon run. In this game, there's no need for anything like that, because the missions are so short. You're in, out, bada bing, bada boom, made, kidnapped a new guy, got a baguette weapon. Now you can just turn the game off and come back later. Nice, quick hit, fun. Perfect for the Steam Deck. Haha, I brought it in there again.
Of course you did. Well, the game's sitting at $14.99. What are your thoughts?
I think it's worth every goddamn penny. This game is great. I like it. It's silly fun, and I can use a little bit more of that in my life these days. So bring it on.
And this one is listed as Steam Deck compatible, verified. So this one, go for it if you got a Steam Deck. They are encouraging that, as opposed to dungeon drafters where they say to wait on that. And Pernell's like, no.
I'm a rebellious.
I will not wait.
I shall not yield.
Music this episode. I was looking for something that had the word sun in it for Mr. Sun's Hatbox, and I think I found something fun.
Ooh, here comes the sun.
No, I can't play the Beatles on here. What the? No. That'll never work. There goes now we're getting a copyright strike.
Bye.
Coast of the Sun from Final Fantasy VII by the OneUp Mushrooms. That's how old the song is.
They're good people.
I'm into that.
OneUp Mushrooms.
They're back in POG form.
Thanks to you two for being here, hanging out. Aki. Oh, yeah, Aki's still here. I forgot you were still. Oh, my God. Everyone's forgetting Aki.
It's fine.
We're not used to it still being here at this point. Usually everybody.
I know. Usually everyone bolts, and it's just.
I don't. I never do. I'm always here till the end.
No, sometimes you leave it to Bill Gumpla.
That's only happened like once or twice. I'm usually the very last one out of the room altogether.
True. That is true. Well, thanks to the three of you for being here, hanging out till the end. Thanks to the three who left earlier. Just split right down the middle. Yeah, gonna play Coast of the Sun, and that's it for the episode. Anyone have any final words to end the show?
Here comes the sun.
We are getting blocked. DMCA strike. Da, 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 da.
I think that's a keeper. Yeah, I think that was a good one. I like that one. Both the solo